That night, I slept with my beautiful boss. Life is full of joy. Lin Fan, by chance, inherited the medical skills of Guiguzi, and from then on, he dominated the city with his Guiguzi medical skills. Chapter 1, Do not underestimate the youth. Shancheng Central Hospital, Inpatient Department. Deputy Director Pan Yunlei held a patient record as he led a group of interns on their rounds. At each bedside, the assigned intern would immediately begin their report. Patient, Sun Tian, male, 60 years old. Underwent cholecystectomy a day ago. Presented with upper abdominal pain of unknown cause before admission, persistent in nature, accompanied by back pain, dark urine, and pale stools. Diagnosed with obstructive jaundice and admitted for treatment. Currently receiving 10 mg of vitamin K via intramuscular injection, intravenous fluids, and antibiotics. ERCP is scheduled for tomorrow. The patient and family have been informed, and the consent form for the invasive procedure has been signed. The iodine allergy test was conducted and returned negative. As he listened to the report while reviewing the records, Director Pan nodded in satisfaction. Suddenly, a nurse rushed in, looking anxious. The patient in room 301 is experiencing sudden asthma and difficulty breathing. Director Pan's expression changed instantly as he strode toward room 301. While walking, he quickly flipped through the patient's medical records, his brows furrowing. Who is the attending intern for room 301? Reporting, Director Pan. I am the attending intern, Lin Fan. 10 minutes ago, the patient's condition was stable with no abnormalities. Bang! Pan Yunlei pushed open the door to room 301. The moment he saw a bouquet of flowers placed near the patient's bed, his face turned furious. Who put flowers in this room? Don't you know that the patient has a severe pollen allergy? He quickly walked over, grabbed the bouquet, and threw it out of the window. Move the patient out immediately for desensitization treatment. Yes. The nurses hurriedly wheeled the patient out. Pan Yunlei then turned his anger toward Lin Fan, his eyes burning with fury. As the attending intern, are you not aware of your patient's medical history? Lin Fan's face turned pale. He stood frozen, unable to defend himself. As the assigned intern, he had been meticulous about the patient's care, even personally inspecting the patient's meals to ensure a smooth recovery. But where did the flowers come from? Before he left for rounds with Director Pan, there had been no flowers in the room. 1 demerit recorded. Your eligibility for the formal employment exam is revoked. If this happens again, your internship contract will be terminated, and a recommendation for expulsion will be sent to your university. After issuing this harsh punishment, Director Pan strode away. Lin Fan stood still, staring blankly at the now empty spot where the flowers had been placed. His heart was filled with injustice. Brother Fan, don't be upset. It's just an exam disqualification. This isn't the only hospital in Shancheng. Besides, there are plenty of great hospitals across China. With your skills, you'll definitely find a good job, a voice sounded behind him. Lin Fan turned to see Mo Shuang patting his shoulder, trying to comfort him. Just yesterday, the hospital had announced that one outstanding intern from the current batch would be selected for a permanent position. As one of the top hospitals in Shancheng, their hiring requirements were strict, usually requiring at least a master's degree. Lin Fan had been confident about securing the position. He had ranked first in both written exams and interviews. But now, his dream had been shattered. What the hell happened? Lin Fan clenched his fists, his eyes red with rage. Veins bulged on his forehead as he tightened his fists. TSK, how could our top intern make such a rookie mistake? A mocking voice rang out from nearby. What a pity. I was looking forward to competing with you in the selection exam. But I guess I was overestimating you. A fool like you doesn't even deserve to be my opponent. Lin Fan's gaze snapped toward the speaker. Pan Mingliang. Was this your doing? Lin Fan had ranked first in the assessments. The second-place candidate was none other than Pan Mingliang, Director Pan's son. Now that Lin Fan was out of the running, Pan Mingliang had the highest chance of securing the permanent position. Such a despicable move. Lin Fan clenched his fists, ready to fight, but Mo Shuang grabbed him tightly. Don't be reckless, Brother Fan. Let me go. I'll kill this bastard. Lin Fan struggled. Har. A country bumpkin like you doesn't belong here. Go back to your mountain village. Pan Mingliang sneered. Oh, and interns who pick fights get expelled, don't they? According to their hospital's internship policy, any intern caught fighting would face immediate expulsion. I'll check the surveillance footage. I refuse to believe there's no evidence. Lin Fan gritted his teeth. Forget it, Brother Fan, Mo Shuang sighed. If they dared to do this, they probably already erased the footage. Getting your graduation certificate is more important. If one door closes, another opens. Lin Fan took a deep breath, gradually loosening his clenched fists. Thank you. If he had acted rashly just now, the consequences would have been severe. If this was the work of the Pan family, he would settle the score after graduation. Lin Fan left the hospital and bought a pack of beer on his way back to the dormitory. Hiss. Sitting on the dorm floor, he cracked open a can and took a long gulp. Bang. The empty can slammed against the wall, beer splashing everywhere. Mom, I've let you down. Tears streamed down Lin Fan's face as he clutched a jade pendant hanging from his neck. His mother had given it to him as a child, saying it was an ancestral heirloom. Bang. He punched the wall, blood trickling down his fingers onto the pendant. Suddenly, the ordinary-looking jade emitted a brilliant golden glow, enveloping Lin Fan. I've been waiting for you, my successor. Who's there? Lin Fan's eyes widened in shock as he saw a translucent, elderly figure with white hair standing before him, holding a golden book. Har har. My name is Guiguzi. This book contains my life's knowledge. I now pass it on to you. It will help you reach the pinnacle of medical mastery. The golden book shot into Lin Fan's forehead. A torrent of knowledge surged into his mind: mountains, medicine, divination, fate, astrology, along with powerful cultivation techniques and Guiguzi's lifetime of experience. Oh! Overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information, Lin Fan screamed and collapsed unconscious. Chapter 2, The Insidious Pan Father and Son. When Lin Fan woke up again, he found himself still in the dormitory. Was it a dream? Could it have been a hallucination caused by drinking too much? But suddenly, he realized something was off. His mind was now filled with a vast amount of unknown information. Methods for cultivating the mind and body, medical acupuncture techniques, divination and fortune-telling, talismanic healing arts, ghost expelling and exorcism spells, feng shui and metaphysical arts. An overwhelming flood of knowledge surged into his consciousness. Lin Fan's eyes widened in disbelief. He pinched his thigh hard, and a sharp pain shot through him, confirming that this was no dream. Sorting through the information in his mind, Lin Fan finally understood that he had obtained the Ghost Valley Jade Scroll, an unparalleled tome created by the legendary strategist Guiguzi. It was an improved version of the Golden Seal Jade Scroll that the celestial maiden Juqian Xuanyu had gifted to the Yellow Emperor. However, these mystical arts required the use of true qi to be performed. Since he had nothing better to do, Lin Fan decided to follow the qi cultivation method in his mind and began practicing. Unknowingly, time passed, and soon the morning light filled the room. Lin Fan opened his eyes, a smile appearing at the corner of his lips. After a night of cultivation, not only did he feel no exhaustion, but he was also refreshed, more energized than ever before. After breakfast, Lin Fan made his way to the Shancheng Central Hospital. Hey! Fan, I feel like something about you has changed, Mo Shuang frowned as he scrutinized Lin Fan upon his arrival. Did I become more handsome? Lin Fan, in high spirits, joked. After undergoing a complete marrow cleansing, Lin Fan had undergone an earth-shattering transformation. His facial features were now sharp and well-defined, like a finely chiseled sculpture. Though his expression carried a carefree and nonchalant air, his eyes exuded an undeniable brilliance and an aura of dominance. Pfft! Do you even want face? Mo Shuang rolled his eyes. Hearing Lin Fan joke around reassured him. He had been worried Lin Fan might take things too hard, but now it seemed he had accepted reality. Sorry, I don't deal in human organ sales. Besides, your face is too big for the average person to install, Lin Fan teased. Get lost. Mo Shuang's smile gradually faded as he looked around to ensure no one else was nearby before speaking in a low voice. Just now, Director Pan called. He said they are reassigning your job to make sure you get your diploma. Otherwise, how will you explain it to your family? Hearing Mo Shuang's words, a cold smile appeared on Lin Fan's lips. So they were still trying to crush him, even though he was no longer a threat to Pan's son? Very well. If this had happened before he received the inheritance, he might have endured it. But now, Lin Fan felt there was no need to tolerate it anymore. Still, he nodded to Mo Shuang and smiled faintly. Don't worry. When Lin Fan arrived at Director Pan's office, he found the door closed. Just as he was about to knock, he suddenly heard voices from inside. With Lin Fan's enhanced hearing, he could now catch every word inside with perfect clarity. Bright, your plan was a success. As long as you pass the interview stage, the permanent position will be yours, Director Pan said with satisfaction. Heh, that poor bastard really thought good grades would get him a permanent job. What a joke! Connections are everything. Pan Mingliang laughed smugly. So it was them after all. Outside the door, Lin Fan clenched his fists, gritting his teeth as he prepared to burst in. But he stopped himself. He might not care about his diploma, but his mother did. She had raised him alone, working tirelessly to put him through school. If he couldn't even bring home his diploma, he wouldn't be able to face her hopeful gaze. Keeping Lin Fan in the hospital is a threat. We must get rid of him completely, Director Pan said coldly. HMPH, getting rid of that loser is easy. The VIP ward has an old man with a nasty temper. Let us assign Lin Fan as his attending doctor. As soon as he or his family complains, we'll fire him immediately, Pan Mingliang said with a sly grin. Indeed, you're my son. You think just like me, Director Pan chuckled. That old man has been nothing but trouble since he got here. If it weren't for the fact that he pays on time, we would have kicked him out already. Such a vicious scheme. Standing outside the door, Lin Fan's expression grew colder. He raised his hand and knocked. Knock. Knock. Come in. Lin Fan stepped into Director Pan's office, glancing at Pan Mingliang but saying nothing. Well, if it isn't our academic prodigy. I was worried when I didn't see you this morning. Thought maybe you jumped off a building or into a river. If you ever decide to do that, let me know in advance. Since we went to the same school, I can at least help donate your body for research, Pan Mingliang sneered. Don't worry, even if you die, I won tea, Lin Fan scoffed. Seeing Lin Fan talk back, Director Pan's expression darkened. Lin Fan, you just received a disciplinary warning, and now you're instigating conflicts? Are you trying to make me revoke your internship? Was this brat cursing my son to die? That is practically wishing me to be childless. Har har, let us wait and see. With that, Pan Mingliang turned and left. Lin Fan, you had the best grades among this batch of interns, Director Pan sighed, pretending to look regretful. After much deliberation, I've decided to give you a chance. If Lin Fan hadn't overheard their conversation earlier, he might have been deeply moved by this act. Such incredible acting skills, this man deserved an Oscar. Director Pan, you shouldn't worry so much about me. Overworking yourself can lead to cardiovascular disease, pulmonary embolism, gastric disorders, even acute systemic failure. I wouldn't want to be responsible for that, Lin Fan said with a concerned expression. Without a legitimate reason, even a vice director couldn't fire an intern at will. You. Director Pan's eyes bulged in anger, but he swallowed his rage. Why waste energy getting angry at a penniless intern? HMPH. When you get fired, boy, you'll know the price of crossing me. Har har, no wonder you were the top student among the interns. Your medical knowledge is quite comprehensive. Director Pan smiled. I've decided to give you an opportunity. The VIP ward has a patient. If you can ensure his recovery and discharge, I'll recommend you for a permanent position. Of course, he thought to himself, this was an opportunity Lin Fan would never achieve. Thank you, Director Pan. Lin Fan turned and left, deliberately showing an excited and grateful smile before walking away. Watching Lin Fan's departing figure, Director Pan sneered. HMPH. That patient will never recover in this lifetime. Think you can compete with my son? Dream on. Lin Fan arrived at the VIP ward's nurse station and checked the records for VIP room 1. His expression darkened. The patient had lung cancer. How could he possibly recover and be discharged? Chapter 3, The Returning Yarn Acupuncture. Lin Fan, are you going to be the attending physician for Intensive Care Unit 1? A beautiful nurse at the nurses' station asked softly. Lin Fan's disciplinary notice had already been published on the hospital's internal website, and many people were well aware of the inside story. There was only one permanent position available. How could Director Pan not let his own son have it? In many cases, skill alone wasn't enough to secure fairness, it depended on connections. Competing with Director Pan's son for the position was a battle he was destined to lose. Noticing the nurse hesitating to speak further, Lin Fan smiled and nodded. What's the matter? The patient there has a terrible temper. He has already driven away 5 attending physicians and 3 senior doctors, the nurse whispered. You might want to reconsider, or else I fear you won't pass your internship assessment. Lin Fan closed the patient record, handed it to the nurse, and said, I'll go take a look. Thanks for the warning. Stepping to the entrance of ICU 1, he saw an elderly man with a full head of white hair sitting upright in bed, intently watching TV. His expression fluctuated between joy and sorrow, as if reminiscing about the past. Creak. Lin Fan pushed open the door and entered the ward. The old man didn't even glance at him and continued watching TV. Zhang Dabiao, take out the enemy's command post for me tonight. If you do, I'll buy you a drink. If not, I'll shoot you myself. The TV was playing Bright Sword, Lin Fan's favorite drama. No matter how many times he watched it, he never got tired of it. Every time, it ignited his passion. When the country is in danger, men must fight to the death. The young doctor and the old patient quietly watched the show together. It wasn't until the commercial break that the old man finally turned his gaze to Lin Fan, slightly surprised. You like this show too? The old man asked. Few young people nowadays enjoyed this type of historical war drama. Moreover, the old man could tell that Lin Fan's enthusiasm wasn't an act. His experienced eyes could see through any pretense. I love it. I even wish I had been born in that era. When the nation is in peril, a man must take up arms and fight. Lin Fan suddenly exclaimed with fervor. Smack. Good. 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 When the nation is in peril, a man must take up arms and fight. The old man's eyes flashed with admiration as he clapped his hands. Cough, cough. However, he immediately started coughing violently. Lin Fan quickly patted the old man's back while sending a gentle stream of internal energy through his body. The coughing soon subsided. Sir, may I examine you? Lin Fan asked. Don't bother. If my son hadn't forced me, I wouldn't have come to the hospital. I've lived long enough already, the old man said slowly. Still, a checkup wouldn't hurt. With that, Lin Fan placed his hand on the old man's wrist. You practice traditional Chinese medicine. The old man was surprised by Lin Fan's diagnostic method. A stream of internal energy surged through the old man's meridians, allowing Lin Fan to gain a deep understanding of his condition. The lung meridians were filled with stagnant energy, and cancer cells were rapidly spreading. Without effective treatment, the old man had at most 3 months to live. Sir, I can treat this with traditional Chinese medicine, Lin Fan said after a moment of contemplation. Who are you? Get out of here. How dare you deceive Elder Su? Get out. Before the old man could respond, a man in his 30s entered the room carrying a bag of fruit. He wore gold-rimmed glasses and glared coldly at Lin Fan. I'm the attending physician for this patient, Lin Fan. The man frowned as he examined Lin Fan's badge. The central hospital actually assigned an intern as an attending physician. This is absurd. He pulled out his phone, intending to call someone, but the old man snapped, Shut up. I think this young doctor is good. Get out, I want to talk to him alone. Elder Su, he is deceiving you. Traditional Chinese medicine is a scam, you mustn't believe it. Do not insult traditional Chinese medicine. It's the wisdom passed down from our ancestors. To abandon it is to betray our heritage. Lin Fan retorted angrily. Ever since he had inherited his medical knowledge, his respect for traditional Chinese medicine had been ingrained in his very bones. You! Get out! Are you ignoring my words now? The old man roared. And don't call home. Yes, sir. Before leaving, the man shot Lin Fan a warning glare. If anything happens to Elder Su, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Lin Fan ignored the threat and turned back to the old man. If you trust me, I will perform acupuncture on you now. Elder Su studied Lin Fan for a long moment before suddenly laughing. All right. Today, I'll witness the marvels of our ancestral medical arts. He liked Lin Fan, he saw in him a reflection of his own younger self, someone genuine and unpretentious. Wait here. I need to borrow some acupuncture needles. Lin Fan quickly left the room and returned with a box of silver needles from the nurse's station. After sterilizing 3 of them, he struck like lightning, inserting the needles into the Zigong, Tanzhong, and Shinkang acupoints. Had any traditional Chinese medicine expert been present, they would have recognized Lin Fan's technique. It was the long-lost returning yarn acupuncture. As Lin Fan gently twisted the needles, a humming sound emanated from their tips. Sitting cross-legged on the hospital bed, Elder Su suddenly grimaced in pain and spat out a mouthful of black blood. Splurt. Fortunately, Lin Fan had prepared a basin in advance. Otherwise, the foul blood would have soiled the bed. Oh! Splurt. The old man coughed up another mouthful of dark, putrid blood before collapsing unconscious onto the bed. Lin Fan glanced at the basin filled with thick, black, foul-smelling blood and smiled. The stagnant blood in Elder Su's lungs had been cleared out, and the cancer cells had stopped spreading under the influence of his internal energy. Bang! The man from earlier stormed into the room, gritting his teeth in fury. You've caused a disaster, you brat. If anything happens to Elder Su, you'll spend the rest of your life in prison. Outside the room, hurried footsteps echoed down the corridor. Director Pan led a group of doctors, escorting a middle-aged couple into the ward. Seeing Elder Su unconscious on the bed, the middle-aged man rushed over, barely containing his anger. He turned to the man who had been standing guard and asked, Li Guang, what happened here? It was him. Li Guang pointed at Lin Fan. He deceived Elder Su into believing he could cure him with acupuncture, and during the procedure, Elder Su suddenly vomited blood and collapsed. At this moment, even Li Guang felt regret. If something truly happened to Elder Su, not only would Lin Fan be doomed, he himself would be finished as well. Chapter 4 I am not as good as him. Dean Pan, who was standing behind Su Lin Hai, was stunned when he saw the situation and his body trembled. He didn't know the old man's identity before and thought he was just an old man with some money. But when he learned about the relationship between Su Lin Hai and the old man, he realized that the old man actually had such powerful energy. If he knew the old man's identity, he would not dare to send an intern to be his attending physician even if he had 10 times the courage. No matter what, Lin Fan must be sent away, and Su Lin Hai must not be allowed to know Lin Fan's identity as an intern, otherwise he will be in trouble. Dad. The woman who came with Su Lin Hai rushed to the bed and cried loudly, shaking old Su's body. Don't move. Lin Fan stopped him and said, the old man will wake up in 10 minutes, let him rest for a while. Lin Fan, you are fired now for carrying out treatment without the hospital's arrangement. Get out of here right now. Dean Pan stood up and shouted at Lin Fan. Get Lin Fan out of here right away, he is thinking of a solution. But he heard Su Lin Hai say, no one is allowed to leave. Then he said to an old man beside him, Mr. Qin, please take a look at my father's current condition. Su Lin Hai didn't believe at all what Lin Fan said, that nothing happened. Mr. Qin, the dean of the Traditional Chinese Medicine Research Institute in the imperial capital, has profound attainments in Chinese medicine. This time, Su Lin Hai and his wife went to the imperial capital specifically to invite Mr. Qin to treat their father. The old man with a white beard nodded, walked up to Elder Su, took his pulse with his right hand, and after a while, he looked at Lin Fan in disbelief and asked, who are you? I'm an intern at Yamashiro University. Lin Fan answered truthfully, but he didn't notice that when Lin Fan said the word, intern, Dean Pan's face turned pale and his legs trembled. Su Lin Hai narrowed his eyes slightly, looked at Dean Pan coldly but said nothing. However, after hearing Lin Fan's words, the crying woman in front of the bed asked Lin Fan in a cold tone, who asked you to be the attending physician? Dean Pan. When Dean Pan heard Lin Fan say his name, his legs went weak and he almost sat on the ground. Mr. Qin, how is my father's health? Su Lin Hai asked Mr. Qin without even looking at Dean Pan. The most important thing now is that my father is in good health, and the other accounts will be settled naturally later. Har har, it's okay. This young man's medical skills are not simple. Even if I want to force the blood congestion out of Mr. Su's lungs, it is not that easy. After saying this, old Qin looked at Lin Fan with a smile on his face. Hearing that his father was fine, Su Lin Hai turned around and led everyone out of the ward. Is Su Lin Hai's father okay? Dean Pan's face lit up with joy. It seemed that things were turning around this time. At the door of the ward, Su Lin Hai looked at Dean Pan coldly. The pressure from his superior made Dean Pan's legs go weak and he almost collapsed to the ground again. Dean Pan, what's going on here? If you can't even see this little trick, then don't even think about governing. Because generally speaking, it is impossible for an intern to serve as the attending physician in the intensive care unit. When Dean Pan heard that Elder Su was fine, he had already thought of a solution and said, because Lin Fan's family has inherited Chinese medicine skills, I specially arranged for him to take care of Elder Su. This time, not only was there no fault, but he actually did something great. The old dean will retire in a year, so it would be great to have this person's support. Su Lin Hai didn't believe a word of Dean Pan's explanation. Is that so? Su Lin Hai looked at Lin Fan and said. Before Lin Fan could answer, he heard Li Guang, who was taking care of Mr. Su, angrily say, "He's lying. Just now when I passed by the nurses' station, I heard a few nurses talking about this doctor. It's true that he got first place in the internship, but in order to ensure that the son of the second place winner can get a job in the hospital, Dean Pan sent him here to take care of Mr. Su. It should be because Mr. Su has not been cooperating with the treatment. Is there something he wants to do? As a secretary, she has a very smart mind." Plop. Dean Pan could no longer hold on after hearing Li Guang's analysis and under Su Lin Hai's angry glare. He collapsed to the ground and begged for mercy. "I was wrong. Please give me a chance. I will definitely correct it. Please let me go this time." Now everyone understood. Kick. Stare. The director of Shancheng Central Hospital, who was attending a meeting outside, ran over, exhausted, with beads of sweat on his forehead. "Why are you here? Dean Sun, you came at the right time. How do you think this matter should be handled?" Su Lin Hai said. On their way back urgently, Dean Sun had already understood the situation. How could he not know about Dean Pan's little tricks? He glanced at Dean Pan, who was limp on the ground, and said, "As the business dean, you violated professional ethics, framed the younger generation, and corrupted medical ethics. In the name of the dean, I will expel you immediately. I will inform the national health system that Pan Mingliang's internship contract will be terminated immediately, and I will inform the school to deal with it seriously. Dean, please give me a chance." Dean Pan was stunned. After he came to his senses, he hugged the dean's thighs and cried for mercy. "Take this person with corrupt medical ethics away. Immediately." Dean Sun shouted. Several doctors came over and dragged Dean Pan away quickly, completely ignoring his crying. After dealing with Dean Pan's affairs, Dean Sun looked at Lin Fan again and smiled. "Young people are formidable. Are you willing to stay in the central hospital? With your medical skills, you deserve this position." Now that Lin Fan has cured Su Lin Hai's father, giving Lin Fan a position is indirectly doing Su Lin Hai a favor, Dean Sun thought to himself. Lin Fan looked at Dean Sun and smiled. "I wanted to get this position before, but now I am not interested. Besides, I decided not to intern here anymore. If something like this happens, Lin Fan can apply to the school to change his internship hospital." Lin Fan was extremely disappointed with the central hospital. He couldn't believe that Director Pan would do such a thing, and as the director he didn't notice it at all. "Okay. It's really a waste of your talent to be here. There are so many hospitals in Shancheng City, let Lin Hai arrange one for you." The door of the ward opened and Mr. Su walked out with a smile. "Dad, why did you come out?" Su Lin Hai's wife hurriedly tried to support Su Lao, but Su Lao waved his hand and said, "I'm fine. I feel very relaxed now. Come on, little doctor, come home with me for dinner. I don't want to stay in this shabby place for another day." "Dad, Mr. Qin said we need to observe for a few more days," Su Lin Hai advised. "He can also be treated at home. It's okay if the old man doesn't want to stay in the hospital and go home," Lin Fan replied. After hearing what Lin Fan said, Su Lin Hai frowned and felt slightly dissatisfied. "You're just an intern, why should I trust you? Since Dr. Lin Fan said it's okay, then we'll just listen to him. I'm not as good as him in Chinese medicine." Old Qin suddenly said to Su Lin Hai at this time. Everyone present was shocked. Everyone stared at Lin Fan blankly. How could Elder Qin's medical skills be so profound? How could he not be as good as him? Chapter 5, School Bell Su Shuer. In the Su family compound, old Su smiled and took Lin Fan's hand and said happily, "Lin Fan, if it weren't for you, I would have to suppress the breath in my chest. Har har, now it's better, and my breathing is much smoother." A doctor's heart is full of compassion. This is what I should do. But old man, your illness is not completely cured. You still need another treatment. Lin Fan took a sip of tea and said. After hearing Lin Fan's words, Su Linhai asked, Lin Fan, you mean recovery? He was very clear about his father's condition. It was cancer. Not only in China, but even in the world today, no hospital could claim to be able to completely cure it. Lin Fan nodded and said, healed. But now that the treatment has just been completed, the old man's body is not suitable for further treatment immediately. I will give Mr. Su another treatment in 5 days. Old Qin looked at Lin Fan with emotion, and after a long while he said, My dear Lin Fan, can I watch you while you are being treated? There are many particulars in traditional Chinese medicine. Generally, TCM masters do not allow other doctors to watch while they are treating patients. This is the so-called secret that cannot be passed on to outsiders. No problem. Lin Fan answered readily. Old Qin was very happy and said to Lin Fan with a smile, You should cancel your internship contract with the central hospital. Why don't you go to Shancheng City Hospital? The dean is my student, so she will still give me some face. Lin Fan's eyes lit up. He had just been thinking about this. Without an internship certificate, the school would not issue a graduation certificate. He doesn't care about his diploma, but his mother does. For his mother's sake, he must graduate successfully. Shancheng City Hospital is the best hospital in Shancheng, and is much higher than the central hospital in terms of academics and status. Thank you, Mr. Qin. Har har, young friend Lin Fan, you are too polite. Even if I don't say it, I believe that with Su Linhai's ability, it would be very easy for him to get an internship spot in Shancheng City Hospital. Old Qin laughed. Su Linhai did have this plan, but he didn't say it because he wanted to wait until Lin Fan had treated his father before making any arrangements. After having lunch at Su's house, Lin Fan planned to leave. But I heard the sound of high heels outside, and then a tall girl walked in quickly. Grandpa, where have you been these days? The girl said coquettishly after seeing old man Su. Lin Fan was stunned. He actually knew the girl who came in, but he didn't speak to her because she was Su Shuer, the campus belle of Shancheng University. Har har, Shuer, just think of your grandpa. This is my granddaughter. Old Su laughed heartily. It seems that the Su family did not tell Su Shuer about Mr. Su's hospitalization. You're back just in time. Please see our friend Lin Fan off for me. He is also from your school. Young people should spend more time with each other, said old Su. You're forcing me to go back just after I got back. Woo woo. Su Shuer pouted her cute lips and said with a look of grievance. Su Linhai looked at his father and said, Listen to your grandfather and send Lin Fan back to school. This time, Su Shuer was stunned and couldn't help but look at Lin Fan curiously for a long time. She was sure that she didn't know Lin Fan, but why did her grandfather and father attach so much importance to Lin Fan? In her impression, there are very few people who can gain such attention from her grandfather and father. Hello, my name is Su Shuer. Lin Fan. Gently holding Amelia Su's hand, an extremely smooth feeling instantly came to my mind. She is worthy of being the school belle, her hand is so intoxicating just to touch. After the two people introduced themselves, Su Shuer took Lin Fan and left. Mr. Qin, can Lin Fan really cure my father's illness? Su Linhai asked again after Lin Fan left. In his mind, no matter how he looked at it, Lin Fan didn't look like a master of traditional Chinese medicine. Just relying on the acupuncture skills I had before is not something I can perform. With my ability, I can at most allow old Su to live 2 more years under the current circumstances. But he can recover, and I believe what he said is true. Old Qin replied. I also believe in Lin Fan. Lin Hai, remember to befriend this person and never offend him. Old Su said seriously, if I were to use for words to describe him at this moment, it would be a hidden dragon in the abyss. Su Linhai was shocked. His father was very good at judging people. A student who had not yet graduated received such a high evaluation from his father. What kind of incredible potential did this person have? Inside the fiery red beetle, Su Shuer gently stroked her smooth hair and said, Student Lin Fan, how did you know my grandfather? Their voice is sweet and pleasant to the ears. If Su Shuer's admirers heard this, they would be shocked. When did the beautiful schoolgirl Su Shuer become so gentle to a boy? You should go back and ask your grandfather. It's not convenient for me to tell you. Since the Su family didn't tell Su Shuer, Lin Fan didn't want to say it either. Huh? Do you think I don't know? Su Shuer shook her phone and said, Lin Fan, a senior student at Shancheng University, was framed by Pan Mingliang, the son of Dean Pan, at Shancheng Central Hospital a day ago and was given a demerit and disqualified from applying for the establishment. At this point, Su Shuer said to Lin Fan sincerely, thank you for saving my grandfather. Actually, I know everything. A tear quietly slid down Su Shuer's face, making Lin Fan feel distressed. Lin Fan could understand Su Shuer's feelings. The one who pretended to know nothing was actually the one feeling the most pain. That's what I should do. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. Crunch. The beetle suddenly braked urgently, and Su Shuer looked at a Maserati sports car parked not far ahead with a grim expression. Bang! Opening the car door, Su Shuer walked towards the Maserati angrily. Bang! He kicked the front of the Maserati hard. Mr. Fei, why are you blocking my car? When the car door opened, a young man came to Su Shuer with flowers in his hands and smiled, half knelt on the ground and said, Shuer, be my girlfriend. Did you take the wrong medicine? Get out of here right now. Su Shuer said with a look of disgust. Shuer, promise me. The young man still did not give up and continued to beg. I don't like you, and I already have someone I like. After saying that, Su Shuer saw Lin Fan getting off the car and walking over. She stretched out her hand and took Lin Fan's arm and said, this is my boyfriend, Lin Fan. Master Fei looked up at Lin Fan, but after seeing that Lin Fan was wearing cheap clothes, he sneered, Shuer, even if you reject me, you don't have to find such a shabby partner, okay? How can you be worthy of this poor guy? Lin Fan frowned and sneered, how can a man with kidney deficiency give Amelia Su happiness? Puff. After hearing Lin Fan's words, Su Shue's pretty face turned slightly red and she immediately chuckled. Are you tired of living? Young Master Fei stood up, looked at Lin Fan coldly and said, get out of here right now, and I'll consider letting you go. Otherwise, I'll destroy your family. Bang. Roll. Lin Fan suddenly attacked, slapped the young man in the face and shouted angrily. In Lin Fan's heart, his parents would not allow anyone to insult him, no one, especially his mother. Chapter 6 9 Dragon Needles. Okay, very good. Lin Fan, let's wait and see. Young Master Fei got into the car angrily, stepped on the accelerator and left quickly. It's not that he didn't want to deal with Lin Fan. Judging from his fighting ability just now, he knew that he was no match for Lin Fan. He secretly thought that he forgot to bring a bodyguard when he went out today, otherwise, Lin Fan would definitely know how powerful he is. Watching Master Fei leave, Su Shuer looked at Lin Fan worriedly and said, I'm sorry, Lin Fan. Originally, Su Shuer wanted young Master Fei to give up, but she didn't expect this result to happen. The Fei family is a big family in Shancheng City, and young Master Fei relies on being the only son of the Fei family to act recklessly outside. This time Lin Fan beat young Master Fei, it would be strange if this guy didn't retaliate. There's nothing to be sorry about, but I don't like being a shield. After saying that, Lin Fan ignored Su Shuer and walked straight into the campus. Su Shuer felt that Lin Fan was angry and didn't know what to do for a moment. No matter what, this incident was caused by me, and I must not let Lin Fan get hurt. Lin Shuer sat in the beetle, thought for a while, and called her grandfather. Lin Fan walked for a while and then looked up, and found that he had arrived at the antique street. Since he was not in a hurry to go back to school, he went for a stroll in the antique street. As soon as I entered the antique street, I was attracted by the lively scene inside. There are bustling crowds of people everywhere, and it is because of the antique craze in recent years that such a grand occasion has occurred. Lin Fan, who was strolling around, suddenly felt a call. Yes, it was a call from the soul. Lin Fan was stunned. What was going on? Lin Fan walked forward with his eyes closed and felt the surroundings. When he came to an antique stall, he stopped. Squatting down, Lin Fan began to sense the antiques in front of the stall one by one. No. This one isn't he either. Was that just an illusion? Lin Fan couldn't help but think. Little brother, what do you want to buy? They are all genuine goods here and can be used as heirlooms, the stall owner introduced with a smile. Lin Fan couldn't help but sneer in his heart, if these antiques were heirlooms, would you set up a stall here? But I didn't point it out. I remember watching a treasure appraisal program. Even if you know that what someone is selling is fake, you can't say it casually, as this will cause hatred. Alas, it must be a wrong sensing. Lin Fan was about to get up and leave. Suddenly, a slender and small box with a simple shape caught Lin Fan's attention. He reached out and took the box in his hand, and the strong feeling of summoning from before surged wildly again. Is there something strange about this box? Lin Fan gently opened the box and found 9 pitch-black silver needles neatly placed inside. I gently picked up a silver needle and found that this silver needle was completely different from ordinary silver needles. It was unusually soft, and a feeling of joy from the soul immediately filled my heart. How much is this box? No matter what, Lin Fan decided to buy the box and the silver needle to see what was strange. Oh, little brother, you have a good eye. This is the silver needle that Huartuor once used. Do you know who Huartuor is? He is a great doctor in ancient times. Originally, I wanted to pass it down as a family heirloom to future generations, but now that I see you like it, I'll give it to you for 10,000 yuan. After saying this, the stall owner said with a distressed look on his face. How much? 10,000. Lin Fan was stunned. The antique dealers were really shady. Such a box cost 10,000 yuan. You know, his entire net worth was only 2,000 yuan at most. 500. Little brother, is there anyone who bargains like you? Look at this box, it has a simple and ancient shape, and it is obviously something from 1,000 years ago. This box alone cannot be bought for less than 5,000 yuan. Since you have come to my stall, we are destined to meet. How about this, you give me 8,000 yuan and take the thing. The stall owner said again. Having been hanging around in the antique street for many years, the stall owner knew at first sight that Lin Fan was a novice and would be fooled if not to rip him off. I don't want the box. This silver needle costs 1,000 yuan. I won't buy it. Lin Fan said and pretended to get up and leave. Seeing Lin Fan was about to leave, the stall owner quickly grabbed Lin Fan. Little brother, I see that you are a real person. How about this? I'll give you 3,000 silver needles for one price. 800. If you don't want to sell it, keep it for yourself. Lin Fan stood up after he finished speaking, but was stopped by the stall owner. He sighed with a look of pain on his face and said, forget it, let's just treat it as a grand opening. I'll give you this silver needle. But his heart was filled with joy, for he got this box from the countryside, and the soft silver needles inside were a perfect match. Even if he didn't understand Chinese medicine, he knew when he got the silver needle that it was probably an ancient handicraft. It was so soft that it would be difficult to pierce the human body's acupuncture points, let alone prick the hand. The money and goods were settled, and Lin Fan took a few steps with the 9 silver needles. Young man, could you let me see the silver needle in your hand? An old man in tang suit asked Lin Fan with a smile. Who are you? This is Mr. Chen, the master of antiques in our mountain city. My dear brother, since you are into antiques, how come you don't even know Mr. Chen? The stall owner who had just sold the silver needle to Lin Fan introduced with admiration on his face. Well, it doesn't hurt to show you. Lin Fan casually pulled out a silver needle and handed it to old Chen. He saw old Chen looking at it seriously. Finally, he took out a magnifying glass from his arms and observed it carefully for a long time. He said excitedly, there really is a 9-dragon divine needle. The legend is actually true. Everyone was stunned. A stall owner asked, Mr. Chen, what is the 9-dragon needle? How come we have never heard of it? After returning the silver needle to Lin Fan, Elder Chen said, after the Yellow Emperor unified China, he went to the East China Sea to plead with the dragon in order to relieve the suffering of the world. The dragon was moved by the emperor's kindness and took out a tendon to refine 9 silver needles. The Yellow Emperor used these 9 needles to benefit countless people. But later, for some unknown reason, the 9 needles disappeared from the world. If antiques have something to do with legends, their prices will skyrocket. Little brother, can you give this silver needle of yours worth 100,000 yuan to me? Old Qian said to Lin Fan. It turned out to be something from Huangdi. The Guiguzi jade box was improved on the basis of the golden seal jade box obtained by Huangdi. No wonder there was a kind of call from the soul. Lin Fan happened to be short of a suitable silver needle. If he had used the 9-dragon divine needle to treat Mr. Su before, Lin Fan would have definitely consumed less true energy. How could he possibly sell such a good thing? Others cannot use this soft needle, but Lin Fan can, because to use this soft needle, one must use true qi. Sorry, not for sale. After saying that, Lin Fan walked away quickly, completely ignoring the anxious Chen Lao behind him and said, "Little brother, the price is negotiable." The stall owner who had just sold the silver needles to Lin Fan no longer had a smug look on his face, instead his face was filled with pain and distress. Chapter 7, Disaster is over, disaster turns to blessing. When Lin Fan just walked out of the antique street, he saw 5 young men with dyed hair blocking his way, each holding a baseball bat in his hand. Lin Fan narrowed his eyes slightly. Could it be that this was someone sent by the antique stall owner? Boy, someone wants your leg. You take their money to help them get rid of their troubles. Remember, don't offend people you shouldn't offend in the future. The yellow-haired leader said and was about to walk towards Lin Fan. The other 4 people quickly surrounded Lin Fan. Master Fei sent you. Lin Fan analyzed that even if the stall owner wanted to retaliate against him, he would not do it in such public. Then there is only one possibility, that is, it was Mr. Fei who was slapped by him. Sure enough, the yellow-haired man was stunned when he heard Lin Fan's words, and then sneered, "Don't worry about who sent us here, today you just need to know that your leg cannot be saved." Whoosh! He raised the baseball bat and chopped it down at Lin Fan's head. HMPH, if you want my legs, let's see if you have what it takes. Lin Fan circulated his true energy, raised his hand and punched the baseball bat. Crack! He broke the baseball bat directly, which immediately stunned the 5 yellow-haired guys. "This boy is a martial artist, let's go together," the yellow-haired man shouted loudly. He then pulled out a dagger from his trouser pocket and rushed over, but Lin Fan was not afraid at all. The Guiguzi jade box contains not only the skills of acupuncture, but also many methods of killing people. Although Lin Fan was only in the early stages of Qi training at the moment, he was not someone that could be bullied by these little hooligans. The figure moved among the 5 people like a ghost, and the sound of breaking bones could be heard continuously. Crack! Ouch! When Lin Fan stood firmly, the right legs of each of the 5 yellow-haired men were broken, with their white bones exposed, which was extremely horrifying. "Boy, we are from the Tiger Gang. If you dare to attack us, you will be dead." Lin Fan walked up to the yellow-haired leader and said with a smile, "The Tiger Gang is very powerful." "Humph, of course. If you dare to break our legs, you will die a miserable death." When the yellow-haired man heard Lin Fan's words, he thought that Lin Fan was scared and threatened him with gritted teeth. Bang! The slap sounded and the right side of the yellow-haired man's face swelled up at the speed of dough. "Go back and tell that Mr. Fei that if he dares to provoke me again, I will kill him." After saying that, Lin Fan walked away. After returning to the dormitory, Lin Fan took the 9-dragon needle from his pocket and examined it carefully. Each silver needle is engraved with a flying dragon, and each dragon has a different posture. At the end of the silver needle are 4 seal characters, 9 dragon divine needles. If you don't look carefully, it's hard to see the tiny words on it. That's right, this is exactly the 9-dragon silver needle that Emperor Huangdi obtained. A smile appeared on Lin Fan's lips. He bit his middle finger and forced out 9 drops of blood, which dripped onto each silver needle. Buzz! The silver needles that were originally placed quietly on the table began to vibrate, and then the 9 silver needles quickly merged together to form 1 silver needle. After the silver needle was formed, it directly pierced into the palm of Lin Fan's right hand. "Oh my god! What is this for?" Lin Fan was shocked, but soon he found that the silver needle that entered his palm was quietly floating in his palm. The dark appearance had completely faded, and on the needle there was a lifelike dragon dancing wildly on the clouds. "It's really a divine object." Lin Fan smiled, sat cross-legged and continued to practice. Today's fight has aroused Lin Fan's desire for strength. Since he has embarked on the path of cultivation, if he does not have the ability to protect himself, he will be killed by others before he can save others. There are 7 stages in the cultivation method in Guiguzi Yuhan, namely Qi training, foundation building, golden elixir, nascent soul, true man, and tribulation transcendence. Each stage is divided into 3 small stages, early, middle and late. At this moment, Lin Fan has just entered the first level of Qi training, which is the early stage of Qi training. During his training, Lin Fan witnessed the erudition and extraordinary power of Guiguzi's inheritance. Concentrate on guiding the true Qi to flow along the 12 meridians. As the true qi flows through their body, an extremely cool and refreshing feeling appears in the mind. This feeling is so wonderful. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth rushed into the body frantically, continuously strengthening the true qi in the body and driving the true qi to move rapidly. R. Suddenly, Lin Fan screamed in pain, his body shaking. A horrible burning sensation rose up from his dantian, as if it was going to burn his entire body to ashes. What's going on? Lin Fan quickly calmed down and soon discovered the problem. It turns out that the human body has 12 meridians, in addition to the Ren and Du meridians. Just now, Lin Fan was so happy that his true energy suddenly deviated from the original orbit of the 12 meridians and rushed directly to the Ren and Du meridians. The Jade letter clearly states that before the late stage of Qi training, one should not forcibly impact the Ren and Du meridians, otherwise backlash will be caused by forced stimulation of the meridians. But the current situation is no longer under Lin Fan's control. His Ren and Du meridians have been forcibly stimulated and have begun to burn inside his body. Is he going to die? Lin Fan gritted his teeth, feeling unwilling. No. I can't die. I still have a lot of things to accomplish. I haven't carried forward Guiguzi's medical skills, and I haven't reached the pinnacle of medicine. It would be too depressing if I die like this. An instinct for survival inspired Lin Fan's fighting spirit. Now that they have been stimulated, then we will tame these 2 meridians. After Lin Fan made up his mind, he began to frantically activate his true qi and the Ren and Du meridians in his body to fight against it. Boom! Suddenly, a powerful heat burst out from the Ren and Du meridians and hit the 12 meridians. It's over. Lin Fan sighed secretly, and then passed out under the powerful heat. Whoosh! The jade pendant originally worn on Lin Fan's chest directly transformed into a golden spiritual energy and entered Lin Fan's body, quickly merging with the remaining true energy, and then directly subdued the Ren and Du meridians with an unmatched force. Disaster is over, misfortune turns to fortune. A distant voice that seemed to come from the sky entered Lin Fan's ears, and then the jade pendant turned into powder. When Lin Fan woke up, he was surprised to find that he was still alive. After feeling the situation inside his body, he was shocked again. He actually entered the middle stage of Qi training. The Ren and Du meridians are completely opened, and a Qi vortex has formed in the dantian. With every rotation of the Qi vortex, the Qi in the body is strengthened. Practice has risks, and you must not get carried away in the future. Although this time was dangerous, it can be considered a blessing in disguise, Lin Fan said with a smile. A foul smell appears on the body, which is the toxins discharged from the body after cleansing the essence and marrow. Rushed into the bathroom and started cleaning. After washing, I looked at myself in the mirror and found that my skin was much better than before, and my temperament had obviously changed. Chapter 8, The Iceberg Din Jiu Ching Cheng. Buzz. The phone vibrated and Lin Fan answered the call. My dear Lin Fan, I have informed Shancheng City Hospital about the internship. You can report there today, said old Qin. Thank you, Mr. Qin, Lin Fan said with a slight smile. However, my student has always been very rigorous. He proposed to test you. How about I accompany you, said Mr. Qin a little embarrassedly. The director of Shancheng City Hospital was a former student of Mr. Qin. He gave him an internship opportunity, but he made a request. You can do an internship, but you must pass the assessment. You can't just enter Shancheng City Hospital at will. If you open this loophole, she won't be able to manage it in the future. Mr. Qin was a little angry about this request. Could the person I introduce be a mediocre person? But considering this student's temper, it would be strange if she didn't say that. Lin Fan heard the hidden meaning in Qin Lao's words and said with a smile, I am not afraid of the assessment. I will do you a favor for this. After saying that, Lin Fan hung up the phone. Lin Fan didn't care about the assessment. This point clearly shows that the director of Shancheng City Hospital is very principled and much better than the director of the central hospital where he is doing internship. After hurriedly eating breakfast in the cafeteria, Lin Fan took the bus to Shancheng City Hospital. When he walked into the lobby of Shancheng Central Hospital, Lin Fan saw what a provincial-level hospital was. There were crowded crowds everywhere, and the scene was even more crowded than the big market in their hometown. There are no more specialists. When the registrar finished shouting, many patients looked worried, but the sharp-eyed Lin Fan saw several young men approaching the patients quickly, muttering something in a low voice. Soon, Lin Fan saw several patients gritted their teeth, took out a few hundred yuan from their pockets and handed them to a man. The man smiled and handed registration tickets to the patients. Ticket scalper. Lin Fan finally understood what these men did. They were ticket scalpers who specialized in snatching expert appointments. Since the central hospital does not have a large flow of people, Lin Fan has not seen any ticket scalpers in the hospital, but he has heard of this type of harmful group. How many seriously ill patients cannot get an appointment with a specialist because of these ticket scalpers? Shaking his head and smiling bitterly, Lin Fan came to the clinic. Excuse me, which floor is Dean Jiyu on? A beautiful lady came to the clinic and immediately stood up and said, Director Jiyu is not seeing patients today. If you want to make an appointment, please choose another doctor. Lin Fan smiled and waved his hand, saying, I'm not here to see a doctor. I have an appointment with Dean Jiyu. Oh, is that so? The dean's office on the third floor. After thanking him, Lin Fan entered the elevator and arrived at the door of the dean's office on the third floor. Dang! Dang! Come in. Hearing their voice, Lin Fan was stunned. From their voice, he could tell that the dean was actually a woman, and she was not very old, definitely no more than 30 years old. Stepping into the office, Lin Fan was stunned again. I saw a beautiful woman in a white coat sitting on a chair, looking at the computer, with her chin in her hand and her eyes fixed. Her beautiful black hair flows like a waterfall, she has curved eyebrows, a pair of charming eyes, a beautiful nose, slightly rosy cheeks, cherry-like lips, a flower-like oval face as crystal as jade, and snow-white skin as crystal as snow and ice. Excuse me, are you Dean Jiyu? Did I go to the wrong place? How could the dean be so young? Is this the dean's daughter? I'm Jiyu Ching Cheng, and you are Lin Fan, the intern recommended by Mr. Qin. The woman finally looked up, and the dark Mozi seemed to be able to see through people's hearts. There is a beauty in the north, one glance from her can captivate the whole city. Lin Fan and Jiyu Chingcheng's eyes met, and after being amazed, they quickly calmed down. Hello, Dean Jiyu. My name is Lin Fan, and I'm a senior intern at Shancheng University. Be concise and to the point, neither humble nor arrogant. Jiyu Qingcheng narrowed her eyes slightly and looked at Lin Fan. Most men would inadvertently reveal a rippling look in their eyes after seeing her appearance, but Lin Fan opposite did not do that. He only showed a look of surprise and quickly returned to normal. Mr. Qin told me about you, but if you want to intern in the hospital, I have to consider you. If you can't satisfy me, then I'm really sorry. Jiyu Qingcheng said indifferently. Lin Fan nodded and said, if I can't pass the assessment, I won't have the face to intern here. The person introduced by old Xin was indeed extraordinary. Jiyu Qingcheng's eyebrows moved slightly, and a hint of approval appeared in her eyes. However, confidence alone is not enough. If you don't have real talent and knowledge, I will still refuse. Come and take a look here. Jiyu Qingcheng waved at Lin Fan, motioning him to come to her side. Huh? When Lin Fan stood next to Jiyu Qingcheng, he snorted and almost exclaimed. Heavenly fragrance body. This icy beauty Dean, Jiyu Qingcheng, actually has a natural fragrance. If it weren't for the inheritance of Guiguzi, Lin Fan would not have known about the existence of the Qinxiang body. Girls with natural body fragrance have natural body fragrance since birth, and it will become stronger and stronger as they age. For men, this fragrance is a super killer. Even men with problems in that area can quickly arouse their fighting spirit under the stimulation of the natural body fragrance. Moreover, girls with natural fragrance have one characteristic: they are smart and learn things very quickly. This is the registration surveillance camera in the lobby on the first floor. Just now, I saw from this surveillance camera that many ticket scalpers took away all the expert appointments and started selling them at high prices. Do you have any solution to this problem? Jiyu Qingcheng said coldly with narrowed eyes. Since taking office, Jiyu Qingcheng has been cracking down on ticket scalpers in order to ensure that patients in need can receive expert treatment in a timely manner, but unfortunately there has not been much success. For this matter, Jiyu Qingcheng solicited opinions at several hospital meetings, but unfortunately, none of the opinions made her feel enlightened. Lin Fan glanced at the computer screen, pondered for a moment, then looked at Jiyu Qingcheng and asked with a smile, "Are you sure this question counts as an exam question?" Lin Fan actually studied the problem of ticket scalpers when he was in school and had some ideas of his own. Most importantly, when it comes to the ancestor of registration, Guiguzi deserves the title. Because of Guiguzi's profound medical skills, people around him came to him for treatment. As time went by, more and more people came to see him, and Guiguzi was too busy to handle it, so he came up with a solution: let the patients register with his apprentice first, which is today's registration. Although there were no ticket scalpers at that time, Guiguzi still provided the most reasonable approach. Jiu Qingcheng frowned slightly and said, "Do you think I'm kidding you?" A coldness that kept people at a distance was directed directly at Lin Fan. Chapter 9: Needle Breaks the Nightmare. Under Yi Qingcheng's cold gaze, Lin Fan calmly returned to his seat. "This question is difficult at the same time," Lin Fan said with a smile. Jiu Qingcheng didn't say anything, but her eyes became colder. Humph. If the problem was simple, would ticket scalpers be so rampant? If it were so simple, why wouldn't I have figured it out by now? Is the person introduced by Mr. Chin a big talker with nothing to show for it? If so, I'm really sorry. Such a person is not suitable to work in my hospital. The simplest way to solve the registration problem is to send 10 doctors to sit at the registration desk every day, and pre-examine and divert each patient. Those who need a specialist appointment will get a specialist appointment, and those who need an ordinary appointment will get an ordinary appointment. In this way, ticket scalpers have no patients, so what can they use to register? In addition, a blacklist should be put on for those who make false registrations. The entire Chinese hospital internal network should be notified, and the list should be connected to the bank. This will lower the credit rating of those who make false registrations, and in the future, any loans for buying cars and houses will be affected. In this way, I think ticket scalpers will disappear from our hospital within a month. Lin Fan replied with a smile. Jiu Qingcheng's eyes lit up when she heard Lin Fan's words. After thinking for a moment, a blush of excitement appeared on his cold face. What a nice view! Lin Fan couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Yes, your idea is very good. Let's do as you say. After saying that, Jiu Qingcheng picked up the phone and dialed the call, and arranged what Lin Fan had just said. After hanging up the phone, Jiu Qingcheng looked at Lin Fan again. You have passed the first question. As for the result, we will have to wait until tomorrow to test it out. As for the second question. Jiu Qingcheng thought for a moment, but still couldn't figure it out. Suddenly, Jiu Qingcheng held his head and screamed in pain. Lin Fan was stunned. He quickly stood up and came to Jiu Qingcheng, and directly touched Jiu Qingcheng's pulse. After the qi quickly traveled along the meridians for a cycle, Lin Fan suddenly shouted, "Evil obstacle." The sound is like a huge bell, resounding continuously. Jiu Qingcheng slowly let go of her jade hand and nodded, looking at Lin Fan in disbelief, and asked, "How did you do that?" In the past week, Jiu Qingcheng had headaches every day, but after a brain CT scan and various tests, the results showed that she was healthy. However, the frequency of headaches has increased from once a day to at least 3 times a day, and Jiu Qingcheng has no solution. Jiu Qingcheng, who has always believed in science, looked through many books but found no clues at all. Have you been to a place where people die recently? Like a cemetery or a crematorium? Lin Fan asked softly, but his right hand was still pressing on Jiu Qingcheng's pulse. After hearing Lin Fan's words, Jiu Qingcheng pondered for a moment and nodded. Last week, a good friend of mine died in a car accident. I went to her funeral, which was held at the crematorium. Lin Fan nodded and asked again, "You must have been suffering from insomnia recently, right? You are often awakened by nightmares at night, but you remember clearly what the nightmare was." Jiu Qingcheng nodded quickly and said, "It's like this, I have nightmares every day, and I'm so scared that I'm sweating all over. But after waking up, I can't remember what I dreamed about." Nightmare? What? Jiu Qingcheng asked with a puzzled look on his face. Nightmare refers to a bad dream. As for the word nightmare, it is said in Guiguzi Yuhan, nightmare means a nightmare. This kind of dream is very stimulating to people. After waking up, the dreamer can clearly recall the content of the dream. These dreams make people feel very frightened and extremely anxious, or they are being played by demons and monsters, or their relatives and friends are on the verge of some disaster. When I wanted to shout, my throat seemed to be blocked by something and I couldn't shout. When I wanted to escape, my legs seemed to be tied by someone's hands and pulled back, so I couldn't escape. I was helpless, breathless, and almost suffocated. When I was about to wake up, I often felt that my body and limbs were difficult to move, as if my hands and feet were tied by something. After many twists and turns, I finally woke up, and I was already covered in cold sweat. Jiu Qing Cheng, who has a natural fragrance body, not only has a fatal attraction to men, but also has a strong attraction to ghosts. This situation must have been caused by many ghosts wanting to absorb the fragrance from Jiu Qingcheng's body, causing a lot of ghost energy to remain in Jiu Qingcheng's mind, and those scenes of ghost deaths kept repeating in Jiu Qingcheng's mind. If this continues, Jiu Qingcheng will most likely suffer from schizophrenia or even myocardial infarction, with disastrous consequences. In Western medicine, it refers to transient cerebral ischemia that occurs during sleep. I think you should also know the explanation of nightmares, right? Lin Fan said to Jiu Qingcheng. You said mine was a nightmare. Jiu Qingcheng was stunned. She had also looked up information before. According to her symptoms, what Lin Fan said was right because it was completely consistent with the symptoms of nightmares. However, going to bed early as recommended in the book still did not show any improvement. Lin Fan nodded and said, yes, it is a nightmare. But I adjusted my work and rest schedule, why isn't there any improvement? Jiu Qingcheng asked puzzledly. Of course it hasn't gotten better, because this is not an ordinary nightmare. As you have a natural constitution, too much ghost energy has invaded you, which cannot be dispelled by adjusting time. Fortunately, you met me in time, otherwise you would probably have died. However, it was not easy for Lin Fan to explain these to Jiu Qingcheng, because even if he explained, Jiu Qingcheng might think that he was a swindler. If you believe in me, I can treat you once and guarantee that you won't have headaches in the future. Lin Fan looked at Jiu Qingcheng's dark eye bags with a little heartache. Real. Of course it's true. Otherwise, just consider this as the second test question. If you still have a headache tomorrow, I will automatically give up this internship opportunity. Lin Fan said solemnly. Jiu Qingcheng hesitated for a moment and said, okay. After getting Jiu Qingcheng's consent, Lin Fan secretly circulated his true energy, and a 9-dragon divine needle appeared in his palm. I need to insert acupuncture into your Shinkyu point. Don't worry, it won't hurt. Lin Fan walked to Jiu Qingcheng and explained. You don't need to explain so much to me. I just want the result. If I still have a headache today or tomorrow, not only will you not be qualified for internship, I will not let you go either. Jiu Qingcheng said coldly. Whoosh. Under the influence of true qi, the silver needle accurately pierced the Shinkyu point. As his right hand slowly moved the silver needle, a stream of true energy quickly followed the silver needle into Jiu Qingcheng's mind and began to clean it up. Lines of black air floated out through the silver needles, but when they met the sunlight, they instantly turned into nothingness. Chapter 10. You can't do it, I'll do it. Aha! Jiu Qingcheng moaned comfortably, a voice full of endless charm that almost made Lin Fan lose his mind. Women with natural fragrance are really amazing. Their unintentional charm makes it hard to control them. All right. Lin Fan pulled out the silver needle and said to Jiu Qingcheng with a smile. Remember, never go to places with heavy yin energy in the future. Jiu Qingcheng blushed and nodded, then suddenly narrowed her eyes and asked, did you hear any sound just now? Lin Fan was stunned and shook his head. I was so focused on treating you just now that I didn't hear any other sounds at all. Snort. Jiu Qingcheng snorted coldly and said, if I find out that you dare to say that, you will be in trouble. Although she appeared calm on the surface, Jiu Qingcheng's heart was filled with ripples at this moment. It was so embarrassing to make such an embarrassing sound in front of a man. He shook his head gently and nodded, feeling that the feeling of depression in his mind was no longer there. It seemed that the Lin Fan introduced by Old Sheen was indeed not a simple person. This acupuncture technique is not something that ordinary people can perform. Although she does not know the skills of traditional Chinese medicine, she has some knowledge of it because she was once a disciple of Master Qin. Bang! Suddenly, the office door was pushed open, and a breathless nurse ran in and said anxiously, Director, something big has happened. Jiu Qingcheng frowned and shouted coldly, why are you yelling? The nurse was so frightened that her face turned pale and her body trembled. What happened? Two experts in the Department of Cardiology just discussed the surgical plan for Mr. Chu's son. They both felt that the operation was too risky and refused the operation. When Mr. Chu learned about this, he was furious and had his bodyguards surround the consultation room. He also said that not only was the 20 million originally intended for the hospital gone, but if anything happened to his son, this matter would not end there. Bang! Ji Qingcheng slammed the table and said angrily, "If doctors don't do surgeries because they have risks, then what are we doctors for? Come on, take me to see it." He stood up and walked quickly to the door. But when he reached the door, he suddenly turned around and looked at Lin Fan and said, "Come with me too." Feeling Ji Qingcheng's anger, Lin Fan wanted to say, "I'll leave first if you have something to do," but he held the words back. I followed Ji Qingcheng to the consultation room and was stunned by the lively scene inside as soon as I came in. This operation is too difficult. If there is even a slight risk during the operation, the child's life will be lost. I am powerless to do anything. Director Li, you are an expert in cardiology. If you don't do this surgery, who will? Whoever wants to do it can do it. Director Gong, don't use your thoughts on me. If your appetite is too big, you might die of overeating. Director Gong has always wanted to merge his cardiology department into the most powerful department in the hospital. Don't worry, I can handle it. Director Gong said with a smile, as for you, you should be prepared to bear the wrath of President Chu this time. I think your position as director has come to an end. If you beg me now, maybe I will merge the company and make you a deputy director. Bar. You're dreaming. You don't have the final say in the hospital. Shut up, everyone. Ji Qingcheng shouted, "What are you doing? As a doctor, are you supposed to say what you just said?" Because the two of them were busy arguing, they didn't notice Ji Qingcheng coming in. When they saw Ji Qingcheng, beads of sweat appeared on their foreheads. In the whole morning, the surgical plan has not been finalized, but you are shirking your responsibility here. Director, I'm not trying to shirk responsibility, but this operation is too big, and our hospital has no successful precedent at all, said Director Li. Yes, Dean Jiu, even in China, the success rate of this operation is no more than 10 cases, Director Gong echoed. Besides, that's Mr. Chu's son. If the operation fails, the consequences will be disastrous. So, I suggest transferring the patient to the Imperial Capital Hospital, so that we won't be at risk. The two stopped fighting and immediately stood on the same front. Whoever performed this operation would be in trouble. Moreover, both of them knew that playing tricks in front of Ji Qingcheng would be tantamount to seeking death. Don't be fooled by the young age of this beautiful Dean, she is very ruthless. Ji Qingcheng looked at the two of them, squinting her eyes, her chest heaving violently. If she could slap someone, she really wouldn't mind slapping two people hard, no, 10 times. We had finally managed to secure a donation of 20 million from Mr. Chu. If the patient is transferred to another hospital, not only will we not get any funding, but it will also have a very serious impact on the hospital's reputation. As the vice president of Shancheng Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Chu is fully capable of doing so. Why? I'm really ashamed of you. If doctors all shirk their responsibilities like you do, then what's the point of having doctors? Lin Fan said coldly as he looked at the two of them. Kindness. Who are you? After hearing what Lin Fan said, the two directors looked at Lin Fan with anger on their faces. It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is that I can cure this disease. Lin Fan said proudly. Har har, you don't know how high the sky is or how deep the earth is. Director Li sneered. Director Gong also sneered and said, how arrogant. Do you know what disease Mr. Chu's son has? The most serious congenital heart disease is valvular defect. Not to mention you, even the top cardiologists abroad don't have more than 3 levels of confidence in this disease. If Director Gong hadn't seen that Lin Fan came in with Ji Qingcheng, he would have wanted to call the security guards to kick Lin Fan out of the hospital. Ji Qingcheng was stunned and looked at Lin Fan with her beautiful eyes. How sure are you? Lin Fan groaned for a moment and said, 8th floor. In fact, Lin Fan was almost 100% sure about the treatment of this disease, but he was not too sure. At this moment, the nurse suddenly opened the door and said anxiously, oh no, Mr. Chu's son is having difficulty breathing and may stop breathing at any time. Kindness. Ji Qingcheng frowned, took a deep breath, looked at Lin Fan and said, you come and treat it. What? Director Li and Director Gong looked at Ji Qingcheng in disbelief. Letting this young man do it, isn't this directly sentencing Mr. Chu's son to death? Director, we cannot afford the consequences of a failed operation. Yes, Dean, you should think twice. Ji Qingcheng said to Lin Fan again, you perform the surgery, and I will be responsible for any consequences. After saying that, he immediately instructed the nurse, immediately arrange for Mr. Chu's son to undergo surgery and bring Dr. Lin Fan into the operating room. After completing the arrangements, Jiyu Qingchang sat in the consultation room and turned on the live video of the operating room. She clenched her fists tightly, beads of sweat appeared on her palms, and she forced herself to remain calm. I prayed silently in my heart, Lin Fan, you must succeed, otherwise, my term as dean will be over. Director Gong, who was sitting on the side, had a smile on his face. This time the operation was definitely a failure. He was already thinking about how he would fight for the position of dean after the operation failed and Jiyu Qingcheng resigned. Lin Fan in the operating room was ready and looked down at the boy on the examination bed. He was about 6 or 7 years old, with a pale face, purple lips and very weak breathing. Dr. Lin Fan, what type of scalpel do you use? The nurse beside him asked softly. I don't use a knife. With his right palm placed on his heart, a stream of true energy penetrated directly into the boy's Tianqi acupoint through his skin, and the boy's breathing instantly became even. Guiguzi's medical skills were indeed powerful, and Lin Fan couldn't help but smile. With a thought, a silver needle appeared in the palm of his hand, accurately inserted into the child's Tianqi acupoint, and twisted quickly. A stream of true energy was input into the Tianqi acupoint through the silver needles. Soon, the boy's face became rosy, and his painfully twisted face became unusually peaceful. The nurse next to him couldn't help but widen her eyes when she saw Lin Fan's actions. Chapter 11, Telepathy. At this moment, in the consultation room. Traditional Chinese medicine. When will traditional Chinese medicine be able to cure diseases? Director Li said with a look of contempt. In his opinion, Chinese medicine is only good for fooling the elderly. Traditional Chinese medicine can only regulate the body. It can't cure anything nor make things worse. If it is used to treat this global problem, it is simply nonsense. Director Gong said angrily. Bang! The door of the consultation room opened and a middle-aged fat man walked in angrily. Dean Jiyu, who is performing surgery on my son, the man glared at Jiyu Qingcheng and asked. When Director Gong saw the person coming in, he immediately smiled and said, Mr. Chu, don't be angry. This doctor is a master of medical skills who was personally appointed by Dean Jiyu Qingcheng. In a word, all the responsibility was put on Jiyu Qingcheng. Originally, Mr. Chu thought that his son's surgeon was one of the experts in the hospital's cardiology department, but after asking the nurse, he found out that the surgeon was actually a young man. Asshole! Are you using my son as a training ground? It's him? Jiyu Qingcheng didn't pay any attention to what Director Gong said. She pointed at the screen and said, his name is Lin Fan, a senior intern from Shancheng City. What? When everyone in the consultation room heard Jiyu Qingcheng introducing Lin Fan's resume, their eyes widened. Dean Jiyu, how could you let an intern perform such a difficult operation? Director Li frowned and looked at Jiyu Qingcheng in disbelief. Mr. Chu, I really didn't know about this. If I had known in advance, I would have stopped Dean Jiyu. Director Gong apologized to Mr. Chu repeatedly, but there was a hint of joy in his eyes. This time, under President Chu's anger, Jiyu Qingcheng's position as the dean has come to an end. If Jiyu Qingcheng leaves, in terms of qualifications, he is the most competitive candidate. Having been suppressed by this woman for a long time, I finally have a chance to turn things around. Jiyu Qingcheng continued to look at the screen and said, Mr. Chu, I'm sure you know your son's condition. Even the best surgical experts abroad may not be able to cure the disease with 30% certainty, right? After hearing Jiyu Qingcheng's words, Mr. Chu's originally angry face froze slightly. Even so, you can't send him to perform the surgery, right? And he's an intern who hasn't even graduated yet. Do you think I, Chu Lingtian, am easy to bully? Chu Lingtian pointed at Lin Fan on the screen and said angrily. Why? The three people were all confused as to why Jiyu Qingcheng, who was always very smart, would let an intern perform the surgery. This was totally inconsistent with Jiyu Qingcheng's style of doing things. Because he is someone that Mr. Qin admires, and one more thing, I believe in him. After saying this, Jiyu Qingcheng stopped talking and looked at the screen seriously. Mr. Qin. After hearing this name, the three of them all looked incredulous. In China, Mr. Qin's name is so famous that even people who are not in the medical circle are familiar with him. In the operating room, Lin Fan said to the nurse beside him, report the vital signs every 3 minutes. After saying that, he pointed his right index finger directly at the boy's heart. The true qi quickly enters the heart through the fingers and begins to stimulate the secondary development of the heart. One finger at a time. It turned out to be a telepathic finger. In my lifetime, I actually saw a telepathic finger. I have no regrets in my death. Suddenly, an excited voice was heard in the consultation room. Jiyu Qingcheng frowned and was about to scold, but after seeing the person coming, she immediately stood up. Teacher Qin, when did you come? Jiyu Qingcheng said. Just arrived. Old Qin was worried that Jiyu Qingcheng would make things difficult for Lin Fan and drive the miracle doctor away, so he came to check on him. Are you Mr. Qin? When Mr. Chu saw Mr. Qin coming, he came to Mr. Qin excitedly and said, Mr. Qin, please help me save my son. Har har, I said yesterday at Shancheng Central Hospital that I am not as good as Lin Fan. Now after seeing Lin Fan's medical skills, I know even more that it's not that I am inferior to Lin Fan, but that we are far behind. Old Qin sighed as he looked at the screen. All vital signs are normal. There were no abnormal fluctuations in the heart monitoring. As the nurse reported the data one by one, Lin Fan's fingers had already left the boy's heart. Okay, push the kid out. After saying this, Lin Fan walked out of the operating room. When Lin Fan walked out of the operating room, he was stunned. Old Qin and Jiyu Qingcheng were actually standing at the door of the operating room. At this moment, the nurse just pushed the boy out, and Old Qin immediately stepped forward to take his pulse and diagnose him. Lingxi points out that ghosts and gods retreat. Lin Fan, I see the rise of traditional Chinese medicine in you. Chu Lingtian stepped forward and asked, Mr. Qin, what's my son's illness? Har har, your son doesn't have any disease. He is a completely normal person. Old Qin replied with a smile. Director Li and Director Gong widened their eyes after hearing Mr. Qin's answer. How is this possible? How can Chinese medicine be so powerful? This is 1 million, please accept it, Dr. Lin Fan. Mr. Chu handed a check to Lin Fan with a grateful look on his face. Lin Fan looked at the check but didn't take it. A doctor has a kind heart. This is what I should do. As a doctor, if I get scared when encountering illness or difficulties, I will never be a good doctor in my life. Lin Fan waved his hand to refuse while looking at the two directors behind Jiyu Qingcheng. Director Li and Director Gong lowered their heads in shame, not daring to look Lin Fan in the eye. I hereby announce that Director Li and Director Gong will no longer serve as department heads starting today. Next week, an open selection will be held for the new director, and those with both ability and moral integrity will take up the position. Jiyu Qingcheng finally relaxed. This time she made the right bet. However, she did not intend to let these two directors who had no medical ethics go. Those who are successful in doing things are all good people first. By the same token, only those with good medical ethics can be good doctors. I have wanted to replace these two directors who relied on their seniority before, but I never had the chance. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, how can I miss it? Why? The two were shocked, then looked at Jiyu Qingcheng angrily. Because I am worried about leaving the patient to you, and the patient is even more worried. After Jiyu Qingcheng finished speaking, she said to Mr. Qin, Teacher Qin, this is your first time here. Let's go to my office. Har har, good. Old Qin smiled and followed Jiyu Qingcheng away. Lin Fan refused to go with them and left the hospital. Just as he walked out of the hospital, he was stopped by a Mercedes-Benz RV. Chu Lingtian ran over from not far away and said to Lin Fan breathlessly, Dr. Lin, thank you so much for saving my son. Please accept this money. He handed the check to Lin Fan again, but he smiled and waved his hand, saying, you should take the money back. I saved your son not for the money. Chu Lingtian was stunned. He thought there were too many people and Lin Fan was embarrassed to accept the money, so he chased out. However, it now seems that Lin Fan really has no intention of taking the money. After thinking for a while, Chu Lingtian took out a card from his pocket and handed it to Lin Fan, saying, this is my personal business card. I would like to ask Dr. Lin Fan to accept it. If you need my help in the future, I will do my best. Seeing Chu Lingtian's persistence, Lin Fan took the card and said, okay, I will intern here in the future. If you have friends who are sick, you can introduce them here. However, I will charge a fee next time. Har har, okay. Chu Lingtian said with a smile. What he wanted was exactly what Lin Fan said. Becoming friends with such a miracle doctor was equivalent to saving another life. Moreover, this miracle doctor had a close relationship with Old Qin. Others might not know about Old Qin's background, but he knew it very well. Chapter 12, Arrogant Master Fei. After saying goodbye to Chu Lingqian, Lin Fan took a taxi back to his dormitory at Shancheng University. He sat cross-legged on the ground and practiced for a while, but then opened his eyes helplessly. He sighed slightly and said, "The spiritual energy between heaven and earth is too scarce. With the current spiritual energy situation, it is almost impossible to enter the late stage of Qi training. How can I obtain more spiritual energy?" Lin Fan began to think. Buzz. The phone vibrated and Lin Fan answered the call. "Lin Fan, I'm Su Shuer, are you in the dormitory?" "Well, what does the beautiful schoolgirl want from me? Is she asking me to be a shield?" Lin Fan couldn't help but sneer. If that was the case, then she had made a wrong calculation. "I like beautiful women, but I don't like being toyed with by them. I'm here, what do you want?" Hearing Lin Fan's tone, Su Shuer was stunned, and she knew that Lin Fan was really angry about the last incident, and she muttered angrily, "Stingy man. What did you say?" I didn't say anything. I'm downstairs in your dormitory and I need your help with something. Can you help me?" Su Shuer pleaded coquettishly. Lin Fan wanted to refuse, but he couldn't bear it. Since practicing now has no effect anyway, he decided to go down and see what the school beauty wanted from him. "Here, Lin Fan. Su Shuer is worthy of being the school belle, her charm is extraordinary." At this moment, many boys were gathered around Beetle, staring at the door of the boys' dormitory with wide eyes. They all wanted to know who the school beauty of Shancheng University was waiting for downstairs of the boys' dormitory. Which bastard stole the heart of the goddess in their hearts? However, when Lin Fan appeared, these students all showed heartbroken expressions. Why? How is that possible? It would be fine if he just had an ordinary appearance, but the clothes he was wearing cost less than 200 yuan in total. He looked like a poor loser at first glance. How could a guy like this win the favor of Goddess Su? Lin Fan opened the car door and said with a wry smile, "Let's get out of here first." Why? Su Shue's pretty face was full of doubts, but there was a hint of cunning in her eyes. "I don't want to die." Lin Fan pointed at the angry crowd not far away. Puff. You get scared sometimes too. I thought you were not afraid of anything. Su Shuer said as she started the Beetle and left quickly. "Tell me, what do you want from me?" When Beetle left the campus, Lin Fan looked at Su Shuer and asked. "It's like this. I learned on the internet that jade pendants have the effect of warming and nourishing people, so I want to buy one for my grandfather. But I don't know anything about jade, so I wanted you to give me some advice." Su Shuer said while driving. She really wanted to buy jade, and she also really wanted to talk to Lin Fan. As the daughter of the municipal party secretary, no one would dare to cheat her even if she couldn't identify jade. Since coming into contact with Lin Fan yesterday, Su Shuer became curious about Lin Fan. She had investigated Lin Fan. From freshman to senior year, this guy had no special talents except for being good at studying. He had always been a relatively ordinary person. But why did he suddenly become so powerful? Su Shuer was very curious. "You've really found the wrong person." "I don't know much about jade," Lin Fan shrugged helplessly. It's okay. Let's go and see it together. At least you can give me some advice." Su Shuer smiled and comforted Lin Fan. Half an hour later, the Beetle stopped in front of a store called Ruexiang Pavilion. "Welcome, sir or madam, would you like to choose jade rings?" The beautiful shopping guide greeted us with a smile. Su Shuer couldn't help but blush, and she couldn't help but secretly glance at Lin Fan, only to find that this guy didn't have any expression at all. "Humph, I let you pretend. Let's see how long you can pretend. You must be very proud of yourself now, right? What are jade rings?" Su Shuer asked, pretending to be confused and curious. Jade couple rings represent loyalty and protection. Because each piece of jade is different, each pair of jade rings is also unique. Wearing jade rings means that the two lovers regard each other as the only one in this life. The beautiful shopping guide introduced in detail. This time, Lin Fan understood and waved his hands nervously. No, she and I are not in that kind of relationship." The beautiful shopping guide looked at Lin Fan's nervous expression, then looked at Su Shui's shy expression beside her, and decided to help this boy who was timid about love. Sir, a jade ring is the best gift for courtship, right? After hearing this, Lin Fan felt even more overwhelmed and shook his head repeatedly. What's wrong with this shopping guide? I've already told you that Su Shui and I are not that kind of relationship, don't you understand? Huh? Am I ugly? Do I scare you so much? Su Shui looked at Lin Fan with resentment on her face, pouting and huffing. That's not what I meant. Looking at Su Shui, Lin Fan didn't know what to explain for a moment. At this moment, a young man walked in from outside the store and came to Su Shui with a smile on his face. Shui, why didn't you tell me that you wanted to buy jade? I know a lot about jade. The young man was none other than Mr. Fei, who was slapped by Lin Fan not long ago. When Master Fei saw Lin Fan, his eyes narrowed slightly, and a murderous aura was directed at Lin Fan. However, a cruel smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. This time, he brought bodyguards with him. Those guys from the Tiger Gang are really useless. They can't even teach a single student a lesson. When Su Shui saw Master Fei coming in, her eyebrows slightly wrinkled, and a frost instantly gathered on her face as she said, "What I want to buy has nothing to do with you. Please leave and don't disturb me." Young Master Fei was not angry at all and said, "Shui, don't be angry. Whatever you want to buy, I will give it to you today. As long as you are happy, that's all." After saying that, he pointed at Lin Fan and said to the shopping guide, "Hurry up and kick this country bumpkin out. He's an eyesore and it's affecting my mood for shopping." The beautiful shopping guide looked at Lin Fan and said hesitantly, "Mr. Fei, this isn't a good idea, right?" Bang! Young Master Fei raised his head and slapped the beautiful shopping guide, saying, "Get out of the way and ask your manager to come over. I spend no less than 10 million here every year, and you dare to talk back to me." Lin Fan frowned. Originally, he didn't want to settle the score with young Master Fei so soon, but now, Lin Fan changed his mind. Bang! Bang! A man in a suit ran over quickly and said to Master Fei with a smile, "Master Fei, the clerk is ignorant and has made you angry. I will punish her later." He can't afford to offend young Master Fei, as he is a big customer of the store and spends around 10 million here every year. People like him must be treated like ancestors. He already understood about the conflict. Although he knew that the clerk had done nothing wrong, there was nothing he could do. If he offended Mr. Fei, he would not be able to bear the consequences. "Manager Ju, tell this poor guy to get out of here right away. I'm not in the mood to spend money while he's around." Young Master Fei said to Lin Fan with a sneer. Manager Ju looked at Lin Fan, then at Su Shui, and quickly understood that this poor boy seemed to want to snatch the woman from young Master Fei. He was really bold. "Could you afford to provoke young Master Fei?" "Sir, please leave." The man in a suit came to Lin Fan and drove him away. Chapter 13, Discovering Aura. Seeing that Lin Fan refused to leave, Master Fei ordered the bodyguard at the door, "Take this poor bastard out of here. Teach him a lesson." Yes. Two bodyguards immediately came over and reached out to capture Lin Fan. "Stop." Su Shui stopped him loudly, "Mr. Fei, you're going too far. Do you think I will like you like this? You can only make me hate you even more." Young Master Fei smiled proudly and said, "Shui, I believe you will fall in love with me, but before that, any man who gets close to you will have to pay a price. Get started." "Yes, master." The two bodyguards sneered and grabbed Lin Fan's arms, secretly using their powerful internal strength, intending to cripple Lin Fan's hands. Bang! Bang! The bodies of the two men flew out like cannonballs, fell heavily outside, struggled for a few times, and then fainted. It happened so fast that before the people in the room could see clearly what was happening, the two bodyguards were already unconscious. After Master Fei reacted, he was trembling with fear. He had not expected that Lin Fan had such strength. Is this something a poor college student can do? Others don't know the background of these two bodyguards, but he knows it. They are Shen-level warriors. Normally, it is no problem for them to beat 5 people alone. But today, 2 of them were beaten unconscious when they met together. Could it be that Lin Fan is also a warrior, and a super powerful one? How is this possible? He is so young, even if he has been practicing since his mother's womb, he can't reach such a high level, right? Manager Ju was also dumbfounded, and couldn't help but take a step back when looking at Lin Fan. "Are you okay?" Su Shuai quickly ran to Lin Fan and asked worriedly. What happened today was entirely caused by her. If Lin Fan was injured, not only would she not be able to treat her grandfather, but she would also feel guilty for the rest of her life. Fortunately, not only was Lin Fan not injured, he also knocked Mr. Fei's 2 bodyguards unconscious. Lin Fan smiled and said, "It's okay." He took a step forward, looked at Manager Zhu and said with a smile, "Is this Chu Lingqian's property?" Just before entering the store, Lin Fan saw a line of small words written under the plaque of Ruixian Pavilion, Chusha Lingqian. Yes. After Manager Zhu heard Lin Fan's words, he was afraid that Lin Fan would attack him, and his voice trembled. "Mr. Chu gave me a card before. Can you help me take a look at it?" After Lin Fan finished speaking, he handed the card given to him by Chu Lingqian to Manager Zhu. When Manager Zhu received the card, he was so scared that he almost sat on the ground. This is Chu Lingqian's personal card, and also the top black card of the Chu group. Chu Lingqian has issued no more than 3 such cards. However, he did not expect that the young man in front of him had one. Do you want to bluff people just by holding Mr. Chu's business card? It's as if everyone doesn't have Mr. Chu's card. Seeing that Lin Fan didn't take any action, young Master Fei calmed down. Manager Zhu had cold sweat on his forehead as he looked at Master Fei, who looked like he was crying. How can your card be the same as this card? Your card is at best a business card, but this one is the ancestor of your card, and the functions are very different. Those who hold a black card can buy items below 10 million yuan for free at any store of Chu Group, and can get a half-price discount on items over 10 million yuan. Not only that, the cardholder also has the right to dismiss any member below the board of directors of Chu Group. Seeing Manager Zhu's expression, Lin Fan knew that this card was special. Can I stay in this store? Lin Fan asked again with a smile. You are our most distinguished guest. No, you are the owner of this store now, Manager Zhu said tremblingly. Lin Fan was slightly stunned. He thought that this card was unusual, but he didn't expect it to have such power. He said to the beautiful salesgirl who was beaten, "Is what he said true?" The beautiful shopping guide covered her face and nodded. "It's true, you have the top black card of Chu Group." Young Master Fei was stunned, and Su Shuai also looked at Lin Fan in shock. The black card of the Chu Group. They had heard of it, but had never seen it. It was said that only one such black card had been given out, and it was given to a very important person. How could Lin Fan have one? Could it be that Lin Fan had some relationship with the Chu family? In that case, I now appoint you as the manager of this store, effective immediately, Lin Fan said loudly. The beautiful shopping guide widened her eyes and looked at Lin Fan in disbelief. Kick these 2 people out, they are an eyesore. Lin Fan said to Manager Zhu and Mr. Fei with a smile. Yes. After a brief moment of shock, the beautiful shopping guide immediately took out the intercom and said, "Security team, assemble immediately. There are 2 unwelcome people here. Get them out immediately." Then he announced again, "In order to welcome our most distinguished guests, the store will be closed from now on. Receive our most distinguished guests." Young Master Fei looked at Lin Fan coldly and said, "Boy, you are very brave. Let's wait and see. Don't think you can do anything just because the Chu family is protecting you, humph." After saying that, he walked away. The Chu family and the Fei family are both big families in Shancheng City, but in terms of strength, the Fei family is not as strong as the Chu family. After Mr. Fei left, 4 security guards came in and took Manager Zhu away quickly. "Mr. Lin, Ms. Su, what kind of jade would you like to choose?" The beautiful shopping guide smiled slightly, but a trace of pain suddenly appeared on her face. "Don't move." After Qin Lang finished speaking, he suddenly stretched out his right palm and touched the pretty face of the beautiful shopping guide. In an instant, the beautiful shopping guide's face turned red and she looked at Lin Fan in surprise. But at the same time as she was surprised, the beautiful shopping guide suddenly felt a coolness on her face. "The swelling on your face has gone down. I'm sorry for getting you into trouble because of what happened today." Lin Fan took his hand away and apologized. At this moment, the redness and swelling on the beautiful shopping guide's face had completely subsided. She touched it in disbelief and found that there was no pain at all. It's okay. I also want to thank you for giving me an opportunity. In the end, you are still my benefactor." After saying that, the beautiful shopping guide enthusiastically led Lin Fan and Su Shuai to start shopping. Let me take a look at this jade pendant. Lin Fan suddenly stopped and pointed at a jade pendant on the counter. When the jade pendant was placed in the palm of his hand, Lin Fan's eyes lit up, and a stream of pure spiritual energy entered his body. I never thought that jade actually contained spiritual energy. I have been thinking about how to solve the problem of lack of spiritual energy for some time, but I discovered such a great thing. If there are enough jade stones, wouldn't that solve the problem of spiritual energy for cultivation? Then, Lin Fan took all the jades in the counter in his palm and felt them, but he was a little disappointed. Chapter 14. Who are you? Mr. Lin, don't you have the jade pendant you like? The beautiful shopping guide was very good at observing people's expressions. After seeing Lin Fan's face, she immediately guessed what he was thinking. Lin Fan nodded and said, I really don't have any favorites. These jades are all very good, but they lack rich spiritual energy. The reason why jade can nourish people is actually because of the spiritual energy contained in it. If that's the case, I have an idea. We are holding a raw stone auction upstairs. Mr. Lin can bring his girlfriend to have a look. They can buy the raw jadeite and then find a processing master to customize it according to your requirements. The beautiful shopping guide thought for a while and said. When she heard the word girlfriend, 2 red clouds appeared on Su Shui's beautiful face. I told you, she and I don't have that kind of relationship. Lin Fan quickly explained again. Su Shui's face suddenly turned from blushing to gloomy. She gritted her teeth and glared at Lin Fan fiercely. Puff. The girlfriend I'm talking about doesn't necessarily mean that kind of relationship. A female friend can also be considered a girlfriend. This is a VIP card. You can enter the auction directly with it. After the beautiful shopping guide finished speaking, she handed Lin Fan a golden card. After receiving the card, Lin Fan and Su Shui took the elevator directly to the auction venue. Lin Fan was really interested in the raw stones that the beautiful shopping guide mentioned. Perhaps there really were jade stones containing a lot of spiritual energy. Looking at the background of Lin Fan and Sun Shui, the beautiful shopping guide chuckled. It's easy for a girl to pursue a boy, let alone such a stunning beauty. If it weren't for the fact that the beauty next to Lin Fan was too powerful, she would have wanted to give it a try. Do you really hate me that much? Su Shui asked coldly with narrowed eyes in the elevator. Hate? When did I say I hate you? Lin Fan frowned slightly, not understanding why Su Shui was so angry. Who said that? If those who like you hear this, I might be dead on the street tomorrow. Lin Fan said with a frightened look on his face. HMPH, you still know how to be afraid. The dark clouds on Su Shui's face gradually disappeared, and her sexy little mouth outlined a charming arc. When someone told you I was your girlfriend, why were you so eager to clarify? Do you think I'm not worthy of you? It turned out that this incident had made the beautiful schoolgirl angry. Lin Fan then realized what was happening. I'm a poor boy, how can I be worthy of you? I'm just afraid of affecting you. Lin Fan looked at Su Shui with an innocent face and said. A beauty is a beauty, even when she is angry she is still so beautiful. If I want to find a girlfriend in the future, I will look for one like this. I will keep her at home to please the eyes and also improve the next generation. Whether it has an impact or not is not up to you. If anyone needs to say anything, it's me who should say it. Su Shui gave Lin Fan a fierce look. Bite. The elevator door opened, and Su Shui walked out first, but she suddenly turned around and glared at Lin Fan, saying, remember this, next time you encounter something like this, you are not allowed to clarify before I say something. Otherwise, I will make you pay. After saying that, she turned around and walked lightly, the blush on her face had spread to her neck. You bastard! You stinky bastard, am I that ugly? Am I not qualified to be your girlfriend? Su Shui cursed in her heart. With Amelia Su's beauty, even if she was misunderstood, no man would be so anxious to clarify. This is a beautiful misunderstanding that every man wants. Lin Fan shook his head and smiled bitterly. It would be a lie to say that he was not attracted to a beauty like Su Shui. However, his current situation was not enough to give her happiness. If a man can't give a woman happiness, then don't mess with her. Besides, Su Shui is not an ordinary girl, she is a school beauty and the daughter of the municipal party secretary. The raw stone auction hall was extremely lively, with many people gathered in front of the stage in the center, and excited shouts could be heard one after another. It's green. It's gone up. Big increase. Don't cut it. I'll pay you 2 million. Give me this jade. I'll give you 3 million. I'll give you 5 million. Lin Fan looked at the crazy crowd below and felt a little horrified. He had read reports about gambling on stones before, and he was a little disdainful of the words about crazy people buying, crazy people selling, and crazy people waiting. Now seeing such a scene, he found it even crazier than what was said above. The people below were like gamblers, shouting with red eyes. The sound of the cutting machine continued and did not stop because of the madness in the audience. Bang! The green part suddenly fell off, revealing layers of grey. It collapsed. Why? What a shame! It turns out there is only that one layer. The middle-aged man on the stage had a painful expression on his face. He looked at the broken stone and stamped his feet fiercely, saying, "I will be back." Puff! Lin Fan immediately started laughing. This phrase was so familiar. Wasn't he at what Big Wolf in Pleasant Goat and Big Wolf often said? What an ugly smile. Su Shuai appeared beside Lin Fan at some point and said angrily, "It seems that the anger just now has not completely subsided, and the beautiful school beauty is still a little angry at this moment. Don't you think the last sentence of that big brother just now is a bit like Big Bad Wolf?" Lin Fan said. Puff. We. You are so good at making associations. Su Shuai was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter. You smile so beautifully. Lin Fan was a little stunned and couldn't help but say. Su Shuai blushed slightly, glared at Lin Fan and said, "Humph. You are really not blind." But my heart was extremely sweet, and the little anger on my face disappeared in an instant. Hey, isn't this the school beauty, Sue? What are you laughing about so happily? A young man walked slowly towards them from a distance, followed by a group of people, including young Master Fei who had just left not long ago. At this moment, Master Fei looked at Lin Fan with a grim face, as if he wanted to cut Lin Fan into pieces with his eyes. Jianglaran, is this place owned by your family? I can't even smile. The smile on Su Shuai's face disappeared instantly, replaced by a cold expression. Jianglaran did not continue to bicker with Su Shuai. He looked at Lin Fan with a smile and said, "This must be the Lin Fan who just stepped on young Master Fei. I really didn't know that you are so brave that you dare to challenge our third young master of Shancheng. Let me tell you, in front of me, Mr. Chu's signboard is not effective." Before Lin Fan could speak, Su Shuai stood in front of Lin Fan and said, "What do you want to do? Do you want to stand up for Mr. Fei? Let's see who dares to bully Lin Fan. Are you starting to protect him already? What's so good about this country bumpkin that makes school beauty Su so attracted to him? Is he particularly strong? That makes you reluctant to let him go?" Jianglaran asked sarcastically. Shameless. Su Shuai's body trembled with anger, and she pointed at Jianglaran and cursed angrily. You hit the point. Har har. Jianglaran laughed wildly, looking at Lin Fan behind Su Shuai with contempt. Boy, does it feel good to hide behind a woman. For the sake of school beauty Su, I won't make it difficult for you. Get out of the mountain city quickly, or I'll break your third leg. Who do you think you are? Lin Fan gently pulled Su Shuai behind him and asked with a smile. Chapter 15, Losing and Admitting Your Mistakes. Jianglaran narrowed his eyes and looked at Lin Fan and said, "My last name is Jiang. You must have heard of the Jiang family, right?" Jianglaran stared at Lin Fan with cold and domineering eyes. As for the Jiang family, there are really few people in Shancheng City who don't know about it, because the helmsman of the Jiang family is the current mayor of Shancheng. Lin Fan was a college student who had lived here for 4 years. Of course he knew the Jiang family. Before he got the Guiguzi Jade letter, Lin Fan would definitely retreat under such circumstances. Because he can't afford to offend the Jiang family. However, Lin Fan is not afraid of the Jiang family now. Is the mayor of Shancheng City so great? The life of the father of the secretary of the Shancheng Municipal Party Committee depends on him for treatment. The pheasant has no name, and the straw sandals have no number. I've never heard of them. Lin Fan said with a smile. Presumptuous. Jianglaran stared at Lin Fan angrily, his eyes flashing with murderous intent, but he quickly suppressed it. Very good. Lin Fan, you are the first person who dares to be so arrogant in front of me. Young Master Fei, who was standing aside, felt extremely proud when he saw Lin Fan and young Master Jiang fighting. This time, even if he didn't have to take action, Jianglaran would not let Lin Fan go. Others may not know what kind of person Jiang Luran is, but young Master Fei knows him well. Although young Master Jiang appears to be gentle and magnanimous, he is actually very narrow-minded and extremely sinister. No one who offends him will live a good life. Lin Fan didn't take Jiang Luran's threats seriously. Let's go and pick out some raw stones, Lin Fan said to Su Shuer with a smile. Okay. Su Shuer smiled and nodded, and was about to leave with Lin Fan. Stop. Jiang Luran stepped in front of Lin Fan and said, since we met, it's fate. This is a place for gambling on stones. How about we make a bet? After he finished speaking, he looked at Master Fei and said, hey, if you don't have the guts, just pretend I didn't say anything. Master Fei immediately understood and sneered, Master Jiang is indeed very discerning. He can tell at a glance that this man has no guts. Amazing, amazing. Su Shuer looked at Master Fei and Jiang Luran angrily and was about to lose her temper, but was stopped by Lin Fan. How do you want to bet? Everyone picks a piece of raw stone, and whoever has the higher value wins. Do you dare? Jiang Luran replied with a smile when he heard Lin Fan talking. Lin Fan, don't agree. The person standing next to him is the president of the Shancheng Rough Stone Association. Su Shuer quickly reminded. Jiang Luran clearly wanted to trick Lin Fan. Others didn't know the old man standing next to Jiang Luran, but Su Shuer did. He was the president of the famous Raw Stone Association in Shancheng City. What? Are you scared? Jiang Luran looked at Lin Fan sarcastically and said, it's okay if you are scared. Kneel down and apologize to Master Fei. Today's incident will be over. How about that? After hearing Jiang Luran's words, young Master Fei straightened his chest and looked down at Lin Fan. What if you lose? Lose? Master Fei laughed as if he had heard the biggest joke in the world, and the people standing next to Master Jiang also laughed wildly. With the president of the Yamashiro Stone Association by his side, will he lose money gambling on stones? Has this guy's head been squeezed by a door? Har har, since there's winners and losers in gambling, if I lose, then you can forget about bullying young Master Fei. How about that? Jiang Luran said with a smile. Lin Fan shook his head and said, I don't like this bet. How about this, if I lose, I will kneel down in front of Master Fei and kowtow to admit my mistake. Of course, if you lose, Master Fei will also kneel down in front of me and kowtow to admit his mistake. Do you dare? Lin Fan. After hearing Lin Fan's bet, Su Shuer immediately became worried. She anxiously pulled Lin Fan's hand and shook her head to remind him. Okay. I agree. Young Master Fei looked miserable. If he really lost, would he really have to kneel down and kowtow to Lin Fan? If so, how would he survive in Shancheng City in the future? But after seeing Jiang Luran's cold eyes, he gritted his teeth and said, Mr. Jiang's meaning is my meaning. Lin Fan raised his lips slightly and said, with so many people here to witness it, I'm not afraid of anyone refusing to pay. After saying that, he took Su Shuer away and started to pick out the raw stones. Lin Fan, you are too impulsive. You shouldn't gamble with them. The person standing next to Jiang Luran is the president of the Shancheng Rough Stone Association. Su Shuer stamped her feet anxiously. This is a losing game. It's obvious that Jiang Luran wants to trick him. Can't he see that? You have money with you, right? You may need to lend me some later. I have no money. However, Lin Fan did not answer Su Shuer's words, but smiled slightly. You still gamble when you have no money? Su Shuer was speechless. However, no matter what, this matter was caused by her, and at this time she must stand firmly on Lin Fan's side. You can choose whatever you like. As long as it doesn't exceed 1 million, I can pay for it. Su Shuer stopped talking after she finished speaking. She was thinking in her mind how to leave with Lin Fan after she lost. She absolutely could not let Lin Fan kowtow to Mr. Fei. After all, Lin Fan was implicated in this matter because of her. Lin Fan didn't care about Su Shuer's reminder. What if he was the president of the Shancheng Stone Association? He could feel the spiritual energy in the stone. Can you? He stretched out his hand and began to sense the raw stone, shaking his head continuously. This spiritual energy is too little, it won't work. This spiritual energy is too weak. Huh. When Lin Fan walked to a huge piece of raw stone closest to the outside, he suddenly stopped. He placed his right hand on the raw stone and closed his eyes. A strong spiritual energy instantly emanated from the raw stone and entered Lin Fan's palm. This is it, Lin Fan suddenly opened his eyes. I want this rough stone. How much is it? Immediately, a beautiful lady in Cheongsam came over and said, Hello, sir. This rough stone is priced at 20,000 yuan. The bet between Lin Fan and Jiang Luran had spread throughout the hall, and the Cheongsam beauty also knew about it. After seeing the raw stone chosen by Lin Fan, a sympathetic expression appeared on her face. This raw stone was placed closest to the outside and had the worst appearance. Don't be fooled by its large size. Having worked here for a long time, she knows that the size and whether it can be cut into jade are not equal. Lend me 20,000 yuan and I'll return it to you in a few days, Lin Fan said to Su Shuer. Su Shuer took out a card without any hesitation and handed it to the Cheongsam beauty, saying, Swipe the card. No need to pay it back, it's my grandfather's medical fee. After that, Su Shuer whispered again, After the gambling is over, we will leave immediately. No matter who stops you, don't worry, I will take the lead. Do you have so little confidence in me? Lin Fan said to Su Shuer with a wry smile. Chapter 16, Not Sincere Enough. This question made Su Shuer stunned. It's not that I don't have confidence in you, it's that I have too little confidence in you. Lin Fan gently patted Su Shuer's shoulders and said, How about we make a bet? If I win, you kiss me. HMPH. What time is it? You still have the mind to make jokes. Su Shuer said with a blushing face and stamping her feet. Hey, Lin Fan, have you finished your selection? Are you standing at the door thinking about sneaking out? Let me tell you, there's no way. I've asked the bodyguards to block the door. Suddenly, Master Fei's voice came from the stage, looking at Lin Fan with contempt. Please bring this raw stone to the stage for me. After saying this to the Cheongsam beauty, Lin Fan walked to the front of the stage. At this moment, young Master Jiang had already placed the selected rough stone on the stone-cutting table. He looked at Lin Fan with a smile and said, I saw that you chose the largest rough stone at the door. I wish you good luck. After saying this meaningfully, he said to the stone cutter beside him, Let's get started. Sizzle. The cutting machine started up and the crowd below was already full of onlookers, watching excitedly. Jiang Luran suddenly didn't care and still stared at the raw stone with a smile. It's green. Big increase. It's icy jadeite. The people below shouted excitedly, but Su Shuer felt extremely cold in her heart. As expected of the president of Shancheng City Gambling Stone Association, he produced an icy jadeite with just one move. At this time, the cutting master stopped and looked at Jiang Luran. Before Jiang Luran could say anything, someone started bidding. Master Jiang, give me this jadeite. 1 million. 2 million, give it to me. 2.5 million. 3 million. Jiang Luran listened to the bidding below, waved his hand with a smile on his face and said, Don't worry, everyone. I believe you have heard the news before. I won't sell this jadeite for now, because I want to use it for a competition. Please be patient and consider it after I win the competition. He spoke very smoothly, neither saying he would sell it nor saying he would not sell it. Continue. The cutting machine started working again, and soon a piece of jade as big as a fist appeared. Please take a look at it, Mr. Liu, and give me an estimate of its value. Jiang Luran handed the jadeite to the old man next to him, who was the president of the Shancheng Rough Stone Association. Old Liu took the jade and looked at it carefully for a long time, then smiled and said, This is a top-grade ice jade. I estimate its value to be 4 million. What do you think? The people below nodded one by one. The price was acceptable. Although it was a bit high, it was not outrageous. After old Liu's evaluation, Jiang Luran looked at Lin Fan and extended his hand to invite him, It's your turn. Lin Fan stepped onto the stone gambling table. At this time, the staff had already brought up the large rough stone he had purchased. After seeing the rough stone that Lin Fan had chosen, everyone shook their heads. This rough stone is not only big in size, but also of very poor quality, with cracks all over it. The stone is covered with cracks, which are very harmful to jade. Experienced merchants often say, Don't be afraid of big cracks, be afraid of small cracks. I would rather gamble on color than on cracks. Why? Because such rough stones are basically waste. Let's get started. The cutting master looked at Lin Fan, shook his head and started cutting. As a veteran who has been cutting raw stones for many years, although I cannot be called an expert, I can still clearly see what is waste. Sizzle. The sound of stone cutting was heard, and soon, pieces of white stone fell. Most of the huge stone had been cut in half, but it was still grayish white. Sushwar closed her eyes slightly. She was ready to wait until the cutting was completed and then leave quickly with Lin Fan, etc. Suddenly, Lin Fan called the cutting master, asked for a black marker and started carving on the stone. Cut along the lines I've carved. The cutting master had no objection to this and continued cutting. The people below no longer had any expectations and were just waiting to see the show. This kid, why did he have to offend young Master Jiang when he could have offended anyone else? Now he knows the consequences, right? It's too late to regret. Suddenly, a surprised voice came from the crowd. Huh? It seems to be green. Sizzle. After the cutting machine continued to cut another piece of raw stone, a refreshing green color suddenly appeared. Everyone below widened their eyes and looked at the stage in disbelief. This is glass type Imperial Green. It's Imperial Green. Oh my god, it actually bloomed into Imperial Green. The crowd immediately became noisy, and people kept shouting to Lin Fan on the stage, "Give me this rough stone, I'll pay 5 million. 6 million. 7 million. Jiang Laran frowned slightly, looking at the raw stone in disbelief, but silently prayed in his heart, collapse. Collapse. Because he knew that at this time, Lin Fan absolutely could not sell the raw stone. The cutting master looked at Lin Fan, but heard Lin Fan's casual words, "Go on, untie them all." Sizzle. Soon, a bowl of enchanting glass type Imperial Green appeared, and the cutting machine master handed the jadeite to Lin Fan with trembling hands. This is the most fascinating Imperial Green he has seen in all his years in the industry, and it is also the largest piece he has ever solved. Estimate the value. How much is it worth? Lin Fan handed the Imperial Green jade the size of his face to Mr. Liu. This. Old Liu hesitated but didn't dare to say anything. The glass-type Imperial Green is not comparable to Jiang Laran's ice-type jade in terms of grade, size and price. He cannot afford to offend the Jiang family, but he cannot lie in front of so many people with his eyes wide open. Let me tell you, the price of this piece of jade is over 10 million. At this time, a middle-aged man in a tang suit standing in the audience said. After the middle-aged man said this, everyone else nodded. Lin Fan looked at Jiang Laran with a smile and said, "It seems you lost. HMPH, just shitty luck." Jiang Laran gritted his teeth and looked at Lin Fan angrily, then turned away and was about to leave. "Young Master Jiang, isn't it inappropriate to leave like this? Have you forgotten the previous bet?" It turns out that young Master Jiang is a man who does not keep his word. Well, in that case, let's forget about it. Lin Fan sighed. Jiang Laran was so angry that his face turned pale. He said to Master Fei beside him, "Kneel down." "Mr. Jiang." Mr. Fei said with a frown. "Kneel down and kowtow to him to apologize." Jiang Laran ordered again, looking at Master Fei with cold eyes. Although Mr. Fei was reluctant, he did not dare to offend Jiang Laran. Plop. He knelt down directly and said to Lin Fan reluctantly, "I'm sorry." Boom. He really kowtowed to Lin Fan and was about to stand up. His sincerity is not enough. How about you teach him how to kowtow and apologize? Lin Fan said to Jiang Laran with a smile. Chapter 17, Don't Mess With Me. What? Jiang Laran stared at Lin Fan with two terrifying cold lights in his eyes. At this time, Su Shuai in the audience also reacted, and quickly ran to the stage to persuade Lin Fan, "Lin Fan, forget it, Mr. Fei has already knelt down and kowtowed, this matter is over, right? The Jiang family is too powerful in Shancheng City. Even the Su family is not sure they can completely defeat the Jiang family. Otherwise, how could Jiang Laran be so arrogant?" Lin Fan looked at Su Shuai and smiled slightly, saying, "Well, since you've asked for mercy, I still have to give the beauty some face, so let's forget about this matter." After he finished speaking, he looked at Jiang Laran again and said, "Don't worry, there will be opportunities in the future." Jiang Laran narrowed his eyes, looked at Lin Fan coldly and said, "I'm looking forward to it too. Let's go." He took Mr. Fei and his group and quickly left the gambling stone scene. They came to their Mercedes-Benz RV, and then Jiang Laran punched the car window. Crash! The glass of the Mercedes-Benz exploded immediately and turned into thousands of spider webs. Master Jiang, should I go up and kill him? Said an angry middle-aged man standing next to Master Jiang. Bang! The slap sounded. Jiang Luran opened the car door, sat in the car and scolded, "Don't you think I'm embarrassing enough?" He looked at Master Fei and the others coldly and said, "Don't worry, Master Fei, I will help you avenge your hatred. Lin Fan, I want him to die miserably." After saying that, the Mercedes drove away. "Young man, I want to give you 12 million for this jadeite. Can you sell it to me?" The middle-aged man in tang suit said with a smile to Lin Fan on the stage. After the man in the tang suit finished speaking, surprisingly, no one bid anything, and they all looked at Lin Fan. "Good." Lin Fan smiled and handed the jadeite to the middle-aged man and said, 10 million, it's yours. Judging from the performance of the people below just now, Lin Fan can be sure that the price offered by this middle-aged man is already the highest. Otherwise, given the nature of these crazy people, they would not be so quiet. The reason why Lin Fan asked for 10 million was that he wanted to thank the middle-aged man for his generosity. After hearing Lin Fan's words, the middle-aged man in tang suit was stunned, then laughed and said, interesting, interesting. Lin Fan, I will remember you. If you have the chance, come to Jiangnan province. My name is Song Fushan. You are Uncle Song? Su Shuai asked in surprise after hearing the man's words. Su Shuai looked at the man in surprise. In the whole Jiangnan region, the only person with this name and such an aura was the middle-aged man in front of her. Har har, little girl, I held you in my arms when you were little. Tell your grandfather that I'm in a hurry this time. I'll definitely visit you next time. Also, you have a good boyfriend. After saying that, the man in the tang suit took a bank card from the butler beside him and handed it to Lin Fan, saying, "This is the money to buy jade. Remember to look for uncle when you go to Jiangnan province." Su Shuai's face turned red and she lowered her head shyly. Song Fuxing looked at Su Shuai's little daughter, smiled and turned to leave. However, Lin Fan looked at Song Fuxing's back and then at the bank card in his hand and muttered, "Is there no money in it?" Su Shuai, who was beside him, heard Lin Fan's words and said angrily, "Humph, what kind of family is the Song family? How could they be short of your little money?" However, after she finished speaking, she felt that her tone was like that of a coquettish little wife. Her beautiful face turned red again. She pulled Lin Fan and walked quickly to the gambling stone table, then disappeared into the hall. "Why don't we go to the bank and check? If he cheated me, if we call the police now, we might still be able to catch him." When he came downstairs, Lin Fan looked at the bank card in his hand with a worried look on his face. After all, this is 10 million, not 1,000 yuan. Puff. With just one sentence, Su Shuai was so angry that she started laughing. If you ask the police to arrest Song Fuxing, you have to see if the police here dare to do it. I'm defeated by you. There is an ATM here. Go check it out. After saying that, Su Shuai pulled Lin Fan to the ATM not far away. Lin Fan looked at the password on the back of the card, 6 zeros, but he was stunned as soon as he inserted the card and entered the password. Just as Su Shuai said, Song Fuxing did not cheat him. Not only that, the balance on the card showed actually 12 million. How is it? Are you relieved now? Su Shuai asked with a smile. Lin Fan nodded and looked at Su Shuai and said, "Do you think he is stupid?" Puff. Su Shuai widened her eyes, looked around, and whispered to Lin Fan, "Just tell me this. If Uncle Song hears it, you'll be in trouble. Let's go, multimillionaire. I'm hungry. You have to treat me to a meal." Su Shuai said with a pitiful look on her face, looking at Lin Fan's cute pouting mouth. If people from Yamashiro University saw such an expression, they would be so surprised that their jaws would drop. The most beautiful schoolgirl in Shancheng City actually acted coquettishly to a man, and the man was so happy that he died. "No problem. I'm happy today, so I'll treat you to a meal," Lin Fan said happily, patting his chest. Cut. After getting on the beetle, Su Shuai fastened her seat belt skillfully. However, she did not start the car immediately. She turned around and stared at Lin Fan with a smile. "I'm very curious, why do you know that there is top-grade jadeite in that stone that is not favored by others?" The fragrance was intoxicating, and the smart eyes blinked as they looked at Lin Fan. Lin Fan's eyes widened and he swallowed hard. "I said I was just guessing, do you believe me?" Lin Fan swallowed again. Snort. Su Shuai snorted coldly and started the beetle. She was furious and said in her heart, "You ungrateful bastard. I showed it to you for nothing, but you still dared not to tell the truth. You have strong willpower. I want to see how strong you are. Forget it if you don't want to tell me. I don't want to know." After saying that, Sushwar was about to step on the accelerator, but was suddenly knocked down by Lin Fan. What are you going to do? Sushwar was panicked and her whole body went limp in an instant because Lin Fan's hands were pressing on her body. Bang! 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 Crash! The glass of the beetle shattered directly, and two men wearing masks on their heads and holding guns in their hands were running towards them quickly. "Come on!" Lin Fan shouted loudly, "Hurry up, step on the gas." Sushwar was stunned after hearing the gunshots, but after all, she was a girl from a big family, so she quickly realized that someone was shooting at them and stepped on the accelerator hard. The beetle rushed out fiercely. Lin Fan quickly stood up and held the steering wheel to keep the vehicle running normally. He said to Sushwar, "You drive." Looking back at the vehicle chasing after him, a hint of coldness appeared in his eyes. "Call the police quickly," Sushwar said anxiously to Lin Fan after she recovered from the panic. But he saw Lin Fan shaking his head and said, "No, stop the car in the alley ahead. They are coming for me. No matter who it is, if they provoke me, they will pay a heavy price." Chapter 18, Beautiful Counselor Murong Hanyang. Crunch. The beetle rushed directly into the alley not far away. Lin Fan opened the car door and got out. "Wait for me in the car." After saying this, Lin Fan circulated his chi throughout his body, a surge of anger lingered throughout his body, and he walked towards the pursuing vehicle with murderous intent in his eyes. The Guiguzi technique not only contains methods of saving people, but also contains countless methods of killing people. "Who sent you?" Facing the two masked gunmen not far away, Lin Fan asked coldly. "The King of Hell asked us to take you to the underworld to report." A masked gunman said this before opening fire decisively. Bang! However, after the gunshots rang out, they discovered that Lin Fan was missing. The two men looked at each other and were stunned. "Are you looking for me?" Lin Fan's voice rang out from behind the two men, and he slapped one of the masked gunmen on the back. Bang! Puff! The masked gunman spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground dead. "Tell me who sent you here." "Go to hell." After seeing his companion die, another masked gunman was about to shoot Lin Fan, but he found that the gun in his hand was missing. "Looking for it." Bang! Explain. "You're dreaming. Do you dare to kill me? Killing you is easy. I have many ways to torture people. Since you don't want to tell me, why don't we try it? There is no one here. I promise you will feel very comfortable." After saying that, Lin Fan threw the pistol aside and kicked the masked gunman on the other leg. Crack! Comminuted fracture of the leg bone. Before the masked man could cry out in pain, two more sounds were heard. Crack! Crack! Both of his arms were also shattered by the true chi. The masked man lay on the ground, breathing rapidly and wailing in pain. "I said, please don't kill me. It was Jiang Long, the leader of the Tiger Gang, who asked us to kill you. Please don't kill me," the masked gunman pleaded. Lin Fan sneered and said, "Jiang Long? Tiger Gang? Very good. Go back and tell Jiang Long to wash his head and wait for me." He turned and walked towards the beetle, and after getting in the car, he said to Su, "Let us go." Sushwar started the beetle again with trembling body and quickly left the alley. "I have already told my dad about it. Don't worry, we'll be fine." Although she was comforting Lin Fan, Sushwar was actually in a panic. Lin Fan nodded and said, "It's okay, don't be afraid." After saying that, he stretched out his right hand and gently pressed it on Sushwar's shoulder. A stream of true energy quickly entered Sushwar's mind, quickly driving away the uneasy emotions in Sushwar's body. Because of what happened, the two of them lost interest in eating. Sushwar drove Lin Fan to the gate of Shancheng University, told Lin Fan to be careful, and drove away quickly in the beetle. Buzz. Just as Lin Fan walked into the campus, the phone rang. "Lin Fan, are you and Shuar okay?" The caller was none other than Su Linhai, secretary of the Shancheng Municipal Party Committee. At this moment, everyone in the Su family was in a state of high tension. Sushwar was the apple of the Su family's eye, yet she had encountered an assassination attempt. No matter what, this matter had to be investigated thoroughly. Su Shuer and I are fine, don't worry. Shuer is on her way home now. I'm sorry for scaring her, Lin Fan said apologetically. Su Linhai on the other end of the phone finally felt relieved, and he took a deep breath and said, I'm glad you're all okay. Do you know who did it? As the secretary of the Shancheng Municipal Party Committee, anyone who dares to attack his daughter will inevitably have to bear his wrath, regardless of whether it is a direct target or not. I know, but leave this matter to me. Don't worry, I will take care of it. Lin Fan did not say that he would avenge this grudge personally. The Tiger Gang had provoked him time and again, so there must be someone behind it. Was it Jiang Luran or Master Fei? Lin Fan was thinking at this moment. No matter who it is, there will be a price to pay for this. Okay, I trust you. If you need anything, just call me anytime. Su Linhai said and hung up the phone. In fact, even if Lin Fan didn't say it, Su Linhai could roughly guess it. Linhai, he wants to handle it himself. Su Shanher asked with narrowed eyes after Su Linhai hung up the phone. Well, father, I think this must have been done by the Jiang family. The purpose may be to target my Su family. We absolutely cannot let it go like this. Su Linhai said, gritting his teeth. She only has this one daughter, and the Jiang family actually wants her to have no descendants. This revenge must be avenged, otherwise the Jiang family will be even more aggressive. Even if it is not the Jiang family must be made to know that the Su family is not easy to mess with. You are still too young. The Jiang family will not act rashly at this time, but since Lin Fan said he would handle it, let him handle it. After saying that, Su Shanher gently closed his eyes. When Lin Fa returned to the dormitory and opened the door, he was stunned. On his bed, a beautiful woman was sleeping sweetly on his quilt. Did I go to the wrong dormitory? Is this the girls' dormitory? But looking at the bedding I was wearing, it was indeed mine. He quietly approached the bed and looked at the beautiful woman lying there. The flawless white shirt and black suit make her long white legs look even more charming, and she is wearing pink high heels on her feet. Suddenly, the woman sat down with her eyes closed and stretched hard. So soft. So fragrant. Kindness. Whoosh. The woman suddenly opened her beautiful eyes, and after seeing Lin Fan in front of her, she suddenly raised her knees and rushed towards Lin Fan. Oh my god. This is going to end my family lineage. Lin Fan dodged the electric cannon with a leap, stretched out his hand to stop the woman from attacking again, and said, Stop. Who are you? The beautiful lady frowned slightly, looked at Lin Fan with a murderous look on her face and asked, Who are you? How dare you enter my room with bad intentions? What? Your room? Is this my dormitory? Lin Fan looked at the beautiful woman puzzledly. Huh? The beauty was stunned. After looking around the dormitory, a blush suddenly appeared on her beautiful face. She finally remembered where this place was, but how could she fall asleep in a boy's bed? Damn it! Did she have trouble sleeping recently? But even if she had trouble sleeping, she shouldn't have fallen asleep, right? Are you Lin Fan? Lin Fan nodded and said, I'm Lin Fan, who are you? My name is Murong Hanyang, and I'm the new counselor for your major. The woman looked at Lin Fan a little embarrassedly. Chapter 19, Specially Appointed Chinese Medicine Practitioner. This time, it was Lin Fan's turn to be stunned. This beauty is actually the new counselor. How is this possible? Normally, the school will not change counselors at will during the senior year. The most important thing is that this counselor is so young and beautiful. What do you want to talk to me about? Lin Fan looked at the beautiful woman in confusion and asked. Of course there is something going on. If nothing happened, why would I come here? Come on, let's talk outside. Murong Hanyang walked out of the dormitory first. But she didn't want to stay in this dormitory anymore. The embarrassing scene kept replaying in her mind, and she felt angry. On her first day at work, she was attacked by her own student. That feeling made her legs weak. Humph, no matter whether you did it on purpose or not, I can't just let this go. I've never been touched by a man since I was a child. Do you want to let this go? No way. Thinking that this guy still has a lot of time under her command, Murong Hanyang has already started to think about how to torture Lin Fan. The two walked out of the boys' dormitory and sat down on a chair beside an artificial lake. A faint fragrance lingered in Lin Fan's nostrils, and he couldn't help but close his eyes and take a deep breath. Sure enough, every woman has a different scent. What Guiguzi Yuhan said is right, you can recognize a woman by her scent. Watching Lin Fan's actions, Murong Hanyang gritted her teeth. She had never realized that this guy was actually a pervert. It seems that the rumors are not credible. Before coming here, she had read Lin Fan's file and found that he was a good student who loved to study but was a bit dull. Now, she really wants to slap the teacher who wrote the comments. Why were you expelled from the central hospital? Murong Hanyang suppressed the anger in her heart and asked slowly. Because he had no power or influence, he took the place of Director Pan's son. Lin Fan simply recounted the process of how Director Pan and his son harmed him. Bang! What a heartless doctor! How despicable! People like this really deserve a beating. After Lin Fan finished speaking, he saw Murong Hanyang's chest heaving violently, and she slapped Lin Fan's thigh with her delicate hand in hatred. Lin Fan grimaced in pain and said, Mr. Murong, why did you hit me? I'm not the father or son of the Pan family. Oh, I forgot. I was so busy standing up for you, hee. Murong Hanyang smiled slyly, but she was extremely proud in her heart. Humph. Do you think that touching me will end it? This is just the beginning. Since you are now interning at Shancheng City Hospital, you must perform well in the future and try to stay there to work. Murong Hanyang looked at Lin Fan and encouraged him. Stay? Thinking of Jiyu Qingcheng, a smile appeared on Lin Fan's lips. Well, I'll try. I'm here to find you this time because I have something to tell you. In a month, Jiangnan Province will hold a college student Chinese medicine competition, and the school has decided that you will represent Shancheng University in the competition. What? You want me to participate in the competition? If Lin Fan hadn't obtained the Guiguzi Jade letter, such an opportunity would have been a great opportunity for him. But now, Lin Fan really didn't want to go. If you have that time, you might as well use it to practice. Can I refuse? After hearing what Lin Fan said, Murong Hanyang looked at Lin Fan with a smile and said, Of course, you can, provided that you don't want the diploma. I recommended you, and if you dare to embarrass me, I will lose my job. Of course, I will not let you get your diploma. Also, in order to supervise your studies, remember, come to school at least once a week for a mock exam. If you don't come, the consequences will be very serious. After saying that, Murong Hanyang looked at Lin Fan's painful expression, twisted her waist with a smile, and left triumphantly. Lin Fan shook his head helplessly. He had no interest in the diploma, but his mother did not, so he had to get the diploma. You actually threatened me. Hee, I don't know if you can bear it. Thinking of the soft feeling just now, Lin Fan smiled. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Lin Fan came to Jiyu Qingcheng's office. Lin Fan, I have seen your medical skills, and due to Mr. Qin's strong recommendation, I decided to make an exception and hire you as the hospital's visiting Chinese medicine doctor. Now you are no longer an intern, but a doctor in the hospital. Jiyu Qingcheng said, staring at Lin Fan with a smile. Originally, she thought that Lin Fan would dance with joy after hearing the news, but she found that the guy opposite her was calm as water after hearing it. Was he pretending? Thank you for your kindness, Dean, but I have a question. Do I get paid for my consultations? Although Lin Fan is not short of money now and has more than 10 million in his pocket, he knows that cultivation is very expensive and the auxiliary medicinal materials used in cultivation require a lot of money. Jiyu Qingcheng raised the corner of her mouth slightly and said, As for the salary, you should have received it, but it's a bit difficult to handle since you haven't even graduated yet and are already receiving the hospital salary. However, I can give you a privilege. The fees from the patients you treat will be yours. The hospital doesn't want the fees. How about just considering it as your salary? Jiyu Qingcheng said after thinking for a moment. Okay. I agree. Lin Fan stood up with a smile and said, I hope the dean won't regret it. Don't worry, since I dare to say it, I won't regret it. I hope you work hard and benefit more patients. After that, Jiyu Qingcheng picked up the phone and said, Liu Jia, take Lin Fan to the Chinese medicine clinic and register Lin Fan starting today. Soon, a beautiful woman in a white coat entered Jiyu Qingcheng's office and led Lin Fan to the door of an office on the second floor. Dr. Lin Fan, this will be your clinic from now on. Dean Jiyu said that he will send a nurse to assist you in a few days. I'm sorry to trouble you these few days. Liu Jia introduced to Lin Fan. Thanks. You're welcome. You're a celebrity in our hospital now. By the way, do you have time in the evening? Let's have dinner together. Liu Jia invited with a wink and a smile. Some other day. Lin Fan thought about the time he had to practice at night, so he refused. Unexpectedly, after hearing Lin Fan's words, Liu Jia's pretty face flushed, and she looked at Lin Fan angrily and said, "You are so mean, Dr. Lin Fan, aren't we moving too fast? I'm not ready yet." After saying that, Liu Jia stamped his feet and left quickly. Looking at Liu Jia's back as she left, Lin Fan was a little confused. What happened to this beautiful secretary? What happened to me? Suddenly, Lin Fan thought of the meaning of the words just now, and couldn't help but smile bitterly. "Beauty, you misunderstood." Chapter 20. Bring your aunt home. Lin Fan simply tidied up the clinic and began to think about things. I'm going to buy some furniture in the clinic in a few days and decorate it nicely. This is where I will work in the future, so I must dress up nicely. After all, I am a multi-millionaire now, so of course I have to enjoy myself and not make myself suffer. Dang! Dang! There was a knock on the door, and Lin Fan came back to his senses from his fantasy. Come in. A girl in a pink and blue dress walked in with a registration form in her hand. However, when she saw Lin Fan, she was stunned and turned around to leave. Stop! Seeing the girl about to leave, Lin Fan loudly stopped her. This was her first patient. If he just left like that, it would be a bad start. We must not let this girl go, we must keep her and cure her. What are you doing? The girl was startled and leaned against the wall. She quickly took out her cell phone and took a closer look. She saw that her fingers had already pressed 3 numbers, 110. As long as Lin Fan did anything inappropriate, the girl would immediately call the police. With Lin Fan's eyesight, he certainly saw the girl's hand movements. He looked at the girl with a wronged expression and said, "Do I look like a bad person?" But he didn't expect the girl to nod seriously and say, "A little bit." Puff! Lin Fan almost vomited blood and nearly fainted. Why? You're not wearing a white coat. Lin Fan almost spurted blood again. What kind of logic was this? However, he still stood up, put on the white coat hanging on the hanger, looked at the girl and smiled. "My name is Lin Fan, and I'm a Chinese medicine doctor. Can you rest assured now?" But I didn't expect the girl to still refuse and say, "Sorry, I don't want to watch it anymore." After saying that, she turned around and was about to leave again. This time, Lin Fan was furious. Did this girl obviously come in and tease me? I really don't believe this. I will definitely cure this patient. Your menstruation has disappeared for 3 months, right? If this continues, the wrinkles on your face will become more and more. Lin Fan spoke just as the girl opened the door and was about to leave. The girl suddenly froze in place, looking at Lin Fan in disbelief and asked, how did you know that?" Lin Fan smiled slightly and thought, if you can't even see this, then Guiguzi's inheritance is too rubbish, isn't it? Chinese medicine emphasizes observation, auscultation, questioning and palpation. Just now, Lin Fan looked at the girl's face and found that the pigmentation on her face indicated that she had the potential to develop spots, and there were also subtle symptoms of premature aging. If you believe in me, I can treat it. Of course, if you don't want to become an old woman with age spots all over your face and sagging skin in a few months, then you can leave. Lin Fan stopped talking after he finished speaking. Bang! The girl closed the door of the clinic, ran quickly to Lin Fan, and said with tears in her eyes, "Doctor, please save me. I don't want to become a shrew. I'm only 23 years old. Don't cry. Don't cry." Lin Fan took out a tissue and handed it to the girl, saying, "Wipe your tears and tell me about your symptoms." Kindness. The girl blushed slightly, and she felt a little embarrassed to talk about such private matters with a boy. But thinking that she would become a yellow-faced woman if she didn't get treatment, she gritted her teeth and said, "My menstruation was a little irregular before, but it came every month, but the time was not very regular. But since 3 months ago, my menstruation suddenly disappeared. Doctor, where did my period go? I guess I got lost while rushing to see you." Lin Fan laughed in his heart. "Show me your right hand." Lin Fan pressed his right hand on the girl's pulse, and the true energy in his body quickly entered the girl's body through the pulse and circulated around. Then he closed the door and pondered for a moment. Have you ever had contact with men before your period? Do you know? Lin Fan said to the girl. After hearing Lin Fan's words, the girl's face flushed and she asked in confusion, "Does it have anything to do with this?" "Yes, it is very important. I hope you don't lie to me. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that I can cure your disease." Lin Fan said affirmatively. This one sentence frightened the girl so much that her body trembled and tears welled up in her eyes. "Well, 3 months ago, I moved in with my boyfriend. However, we didn't break through the last line of defense because I suddenly got scared halfway through." The girl nodded shyly and told the truth. "That's right, it seems that girls' abnormal menstruation is caused by fright. In ancient times, this disease was also very common, because girls in ancient times had never seen their husband's appearance before marriage, so on the wedding night when the two people were going to be honest with each other, if they met an ugly man, the girl would be scared. If the girl happened to have her period at that time, it would cause her period to be scared away. Doctor, can my disease be cured? I really don't want to become a shrew. Please, please." The girl's tears fell again. She had been to other hospitals in Shancheng City before and took many medicines to regulate menstruation, but there was no effect at all, and she was very anxious. Every day, she watched her skin slowly begin to sag and the wrinkles around her eyes gradually increase, and she wanted to die. "Don't worry, I can treat it." Lin Fan pointed to the examination bed not far away and said, "Go lie down, I'll give you a massage and I promise to help your aunt find her way home. Can you unbutton 2 buttons? I need to massage your abdomen." Standing on the edge of the examination bed, Lin Fan slowly said to the girl lying there. Good." The girl gritted her teeth and slowly untied the 2 pieces, but she still continued. "Gurgle." Lin Fan quickly stopped him and said, Stop untying it, that's enough. Are you teasing me on purpose? I asked you to unbutton too, but you didn't listen. Don't be nervous, just relax." After saying this, Lin Fan placed his palm directly on the chi high point on the girl's abdomen. The true energy instantly gathered in the palm of the hand, poured into the chi high point, and then rushed to the sanyin jiao point again. Under the powerful true energy, the black gas originally present in the 2 acupoints was directly swallowed up. "Yeah. Comfortable." Suddenly, the girl's face flushed, she bit her lips lightly, and spoke in a seductive voice. Chapter 21, The Dark-Hearted Beautiful Dean. The wonderful smoothness from his palm made Lin Fan's breathing become a little heavy. Fortunately, at the critical moment, the true energy in the dantian instantly traveled along the meridians of the whole body and extinguished the fire in an instant. "All right." Lin Fan withdrew his hand and said to the girl, "Do you want to go to the bathroom?" The girl opened her eyes with a blushing face and looked at Lin Fan awkwardly. I said it unconsciously just now, and by the time she realized it, it was too late. It's so embarrassing just thinking about it. "Do you want to go to the bathroom?" Lin Fan asked again. Why? After quickly buttoning her shirt, the girl looked at Lin Fan with confusion on her face. Suddenly, she felt something strange in her body, and a warm current quickly gathered. Having experienced such troubles for many years, she finally knew the reason. She screamed, quickly jumped off the examination bed and rushed into the bathroom in the clinic with her bag. A smile appeared on Lin Fan's lips. Could this be considered a good start? After curing the acupuncture point problem, Lin Fan smelled a bloody scent. He was sure that the girl's period had found its way home and was already on the way, about to knock on the door. I sat back in the chair and waited for about 5 minutes before the bathroom door finally opened. "Thank you, my period has come." After saying this, the girl lowered her head, and a hint of pink appeared on her shy neck. "It's good that you're here, it's good that you're here." Lin Fan said with a smile, "Remember, if you really want to be with your boyfriend in the future, you can play some soothing music, which can eliminate your nervousness." "Kindness." The girl's voice was as soft as a mosquito and she nodded in agreement. "Well, doctor, how much is the consultation fee?" Before the consultation, the registration office told the girl that she could pay the consultation fee in the clinic. "Today is a big opening sale, it's free." "Okay, let's go home quickly." Lin Fan waved at the girl. "Kindness." The girl looked at Lin Fan in disbelief. Although she had not been to the hospital many times, she had never heard of a hospital clinic offering bonuses during opening hours. "I'm serious." Let's go now, otherwise I will change my mind, Lin Fan threatened with a smile. Is this true? The girl looked at Lin Fan seriously, not realizing that he was joking, and slowly walked towards the door. Before turning around, he suddenly bowed deeply to Lin Fan and said, "Thank you, Dr. Lin Fan." After saying that, he opened the door and turned to leave. What a good girl. His boyfriend is so lucky. Lin Fan sighed in his heart. From the little she showed just now, I can tell. Besides, her voice is really nice. When will I have a girlfriend like this? Lin Fan thought of the beautiful Dean Jiyu Qingcheng, and then shook his head and said, although she has a good figure, her personality is a little too cold. What's more, given his current situation, he absolutely cannot have close contact with a woman so early. The Guiguzi Jade letter clearly states that he must wait until at least the foundation establishment stage before having close contact with a woman. Otherwise, his true energy will run rampant in his body, causing his body to explode and die. Lin Fan trembled all over at the thought of exploding and dying. The last time he almost died from force training was still vivid in his mind. However, if I could touch Ji Yuqingqing's perfect figure, that would be great, right? Thinking of this, a smile appeared on Lin Fan's face. Bang! The door of the clinic was suddenly pushed open, and the fragrance rushed towards me. What are you thinking about? You are laughing so happily, tell me about it, came a cold and familiar voice. Kindness. Lin Fa raised his head and looked at the person walking towards him. He was stunned for a moment. Clear and bright pupils, curved eyebrows, long eyelashes trembling slightly, flawless skin with a faint blush, and thin lips as mouth-watering as rose petals. There is a beauty in the north, so peerless and independent, one glance from her can captivate the whole city. I'm asking you a question. Ji Yuqingcheng frowned slightly and glared at Lin Fan. If an ordinary man looked at her like this, she would feel disgusted. However, when Lin Fan stared at her, she did not feel that kind of disgust. Ji Yuqingcheng was a little curious and looked at Lin Fan. His eyes were clear, without the desire that other men had. What secrets does this young man, who is valued by Mr. Qin, hide? Humph, no matter what secrets you have, I will uncover them all sooner or later. In fact, Ji Yuqingcheng was under a lot of pressure to hire Lin Fan as a doctor in the hospital. One reason was to give face to old Qin, and the other was to see how good Lin Fan's medical skills were and whether they were as good as old Qin said. Traditional Chinese medicine in Shancheng Central Hospital has always been a headache for Ji Yuqingcheng. Because of the lack of a master of traditional Chinese medicine, Shancheng Hospital has failed to make the list of the best hospitals in the country several times. For this reason, Ji Yuqingcheng has lost her temper many times. She had been outside Lin Fan's clinic just now, and immediately conducted a brief investigation on the girl after she was treated. If the girl is not satisfied with Lin Fan's diagnosis and treatment, Ji Yuqingcheng will immediately cancel Lin Fan's appointment. In her heart, the patient's health is the first priority, and she will never allow a quack doctor to harm patients in the hospital. However, the results of the investigation showed that the girl was very satisfied with Lin Fan's treatment. When Ji Yuqingcheng heard that Lin Fan was offering a big promotion of free treatment because of the grand opening, she even chuckled surprisingly. Dean, are women all very gossipy? How could Lin Fan say that he just thought of Ji Yuqingcheng's beautiful figure and wanted to experience with his own hands how exquisite it was? If he said that, the Queen Dean would probably expel him immediately, and before expelling him, she would give him a severe punishment, right? HMPH, don't be complacent just because you cured a patient. I will continue to pay attention to you. If I find that your medical skills are not good enough, I will fire you immediately. At that time, you won't even have the opportunity to do an internship, okay? Ji Yuqingcheng threatened with narrowed eyes. Oh my god, a man can't just say he can't do it. Besides, how can you tell that my medical skills are not good? I can find my aunt if she gets lost. I'm very capable. Ji Yuqingcheng looked around the clinic with her eyes wide open and nodded with satisfaction. He was still a clean person. Who did you learn Chinese medicine from? It doesn't look like you learned it in school. Ji Yuqingcheng suddenly stared at Lin Fan and asked. Even though Yamashiro University Medical School is one of the best medical schools in the country, it is impossible for a senior student to have such medical skills. It's inherited from my ancestors. Lin Fan replied with a smile. You want to trick me, the beautiful Dean is really treacherous. Before he had strong strength, Lin Fan didn't want to expose the news of Guiguzi. After all, he still understood the principle that a man is innocent but guilty of possessing a treasure. Chapter 22, Fake Boyfriend. Oh, I see. Ji Qingcheng nodded, squinted her eyes, and raised the corners of her mouth slightly. Yi Qingcheng was very dissatisfied with Lin Fan's answer. You just perfunctorily answered me with one sentence. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? Buzz. Buzz. Suddenly, the phone in Ji Qingcheng's white coat pocket vibrated. After taking out the phone, the beautiful Dean's face was immediately covered with frost. Hello. I don't have time. You want to come to the hospital? If you dare to come, I will put you on the blacklist and never talk to you again. Okay, wait for me, I'll explain everything to you. After saying that, Ji Qingcheng hung up the phone. Looking at Lin Fan opposite him, his eyes suddenly turned. Dr. Lin Fan, to congratulate you on your successful opening today, I'd like to treat you to a meal. Let's go, Ji Qingcheng suddenly invited with a smile. Huh? If you show your kindness for no reason, it will never be a good thing. Lin Fan wanted to refuse, but when he thought about the fact that he still had to work under Dean Queen, if he really offended Dean Queen, given Ji Qingcheng's temper, she would definitely not let him off easily. Forget it, serving beautiful women is every man's duty and responsibility. Thank you, Dean. Here are my car keys. Wait for me at the hospital entrance. After throwing a pair of car keys to Lin Fan, Ji Qingcheng turned around and left. At the entrance of Shancheng City Hospital, Lin Fan sat in Ji Qingcheng's BMW, smelling the faint fragrance that filled his nostrils and smiled slightly. Beautiful women and nice cars, it must be very comfortable if you can enjoy yourself in such a car, right? I shook my body hard, feeling the softness of the car, and a smile appeared on my face. Bang! The car door opened, and Ji Qingcheng sat in the passenger seat with a somewhat cold expression. Is it fun? Well, I'm helping you check the tire pressure. After my inspection, the tire pressure of the car is all normal and can be started at any time. Lin Fan said with a guilty conscience. Go to the boutique seafood restaurant in Shancheng, you know. Lin Fan nodded and said, I know, but I've never been there. Lin Fan used to be a poor student. How could he afford to go to a top seafood restaurant like Shancheng City? I heard that the consumption there is very high, and a meal there would cost at least tens of thousands of yuan. Just drive if you know it. Seeing that Lin Fan was reluctant to drive, Ji Qingcheng rolled her eyes at Lin Fan. Boom! He stepped on the accelerator hard and the BMW rushed out, but soon stabilized. Luxury cars are great, and they have plenty of power. Lin Fan learned to drive when he was a junior in college, but unfortunately, the best car he had ever driven was the old Jetta that belonged to Mo Shuang's father. Compared with this latest BMW sports car, there is a world of difference. Along the way, Ji Qingcheng had a gloomy face. Lin Fan looked at the dark clouds on the beautiful Dean's face and drove attentively. It seems that this meal is not so easy to eat. Crunch. 20 minutes later, the BMW sports car stopped at the door of Shancheng Boutique Seafood Hotel. Huh? No one? What's going on? When I passed by here before, it was packed. What happened today? Bang! Get off. Ji Qingcheng obviously also saw the situation in the hotel, and his face became increasingly gloomy. From now on, you are my boyfriend, remember? The moment they stepped into the hotel, Ji Qingcheng suddenly said something that made Lin Fan's eyes widen. What? Boyfriend? Before Lin Fan could react, Ji Qingcheng had already grabbed Lin Fan's arm. Shield meets shield again. Lin Fan was not very happy at the moment. He thought of the time when Su Shuai used him as a shield. Do I look like a spare tire? Or do I have the potential to be a spare tire? Why? Don't want to. Seeing the pain on Lin Fan's face, Ji Qingcheng asked coldly. Lin Fan shivered involuntarily at the chill, and quickly shook his head and forced a smile, saying, No, I'm too late to be happy. HMPH, if you perform well, I'll treat you to a meal. If you don't perform well, not only will you not be able to eat well, but I will also make sure you don't have food to eat in the hospital in the future. Ji Qingcheng said through gritted teeth. Yes, sir. I will complete the task. After Lin Fan finished speaking, he took the opportunity to secretly bump Ji Qingcheng with his arm while walking. Huh? Ji Qingcheng frowned slightly, pretending that nothing had happened, but in her heart she had already made up her mind to deal with Lin Fan properly. Are you taking advantage of my misfortune? How dare you take advantage of me? I'm afraid your teeth are not strong enough. Qingcheng, you are finally here. After the man finished speaking, several waiters quickly drew the curtains, and the entire first floor was immediately plunged into darkness. Ji Qingcheng's body trembled slightly, and she couldn't help but move closer to Lin Fan. An extremely wonderful feeling instantly attacked Lin Fan's arm. At the same time, the greasy fragrance made Lin Fan's whole body in a state of excitement. A beauty is a beauty. With a beauty like Ji Qingcheng, is there anything that can't be conquered? Crack! A beam of light appeared, and a man in a neat suit appeared at the stairs on the second floor, holding a large bunch of beautiful roses in his hand and looking at Ji Qingcheng with a smile. However, after seeing Ji Qingcheng holding hands intimately with a man, two murderous intent instantly burst out of the man's eyes. Who is he? My boyfriend. After Ji Qingcheng finished speaking, she looked at the man opposite with cold eyes and said, I didn't want to come here in the first place. I came here today to make it clear to you that I have no feelings for you, and I have a boyfriend. Please don't harass me in the future. The man was slightly stunned, then smiled gently and said, Qingcheng, I know you are testing me. I really like you. For you, I went to Harvard Medical School to study abroad and have obtained a doctorate degree. I believe that with my help, I can definitely help you succeed in your career. After saying this, the man waved the gold and red graduation certificate in his right hand and looked at Ji Qingcheng proudly. He was a returned overseas Chinese. Lin Fan looked at the man not far away carefully, but shook his head. The inheritance of Guiguzi covers everything, including the method of physiognomy. Judging from the physiognomy, this man has a frivolous face, and has many and excessive romantic relationships, making him a typical promiscuous man. Does it have anything to do with me? Ji Qingcheng's tone was still cold, giving people a feeling that she was keeping people at a distance. Qingcheng, believe me, I will love you forever. The man walked over slowly. At this time, the lights in the hall lit up, and roses covered the man's surroundings. It seems that this scumbag has spent a lot of money to win the favor of beautiful women. Rich people have their own tricks when picking up girls, Lin Fan sighed inwardly. The show is over, you can go now. Don't worry, I will give you a red envelope. The man said with a smile not far from Lin Fan. Chapter 23, Do you think I'm a joker? Li Yunyang, that's enough. Ji Qingcheng shouted coldly. Then he said to Lin Fan, let's go. The purpose of coming here today has been achieved. Ji Qingcheng doesn't want to see this man who makes her sick anymore. Stop. Qingcheng, what's so good about this poor guy? How can he be worthy of you? You must have been fooled by his sweet words. Wake up. After he finished speaking, he pointed at Lin Fan and threatened, Boy, I'll give you 1 million. Get out of here right away. Otherwise, I'll make you disappear from the mountain city. Lin Fan squinted his eyes and looked at Li Yunyang, then suddenly laughed. Someone told me the same thing a few days ago, but I'm still here. If I don't want to leave, no one can drive me away. Ji Qingcheng looked at Lin Fan in surprise. It was the first time she discovered that Lin Fan had such a domineering side. Well, you have guts. Whether I have guts or not, you will never know. Only my woman will know this, Lin Fan said with a smile. Ji Qingcheng's face turned slightly red and she gave Lin Fan beside her a cold look. This charming action made Li Yunyang even more angry. Qingcheng, I know you like seafood, so I specially airlifted top-quality seafood and red wine from Australia. Let's go have dinner, Li Yunyang invited with a smile. Lin Fan looked at Li Yunyang. Is there something wrong with this kid's brain? She has already said that she doesn't like him, so why are you still being so shameless? Don't you know that a woman who is forced to get you won't be happy even if you get her? No appetite. Let's go, let's eat somewhere else. Ji Qingcheng said to Lin Fan. The two turned around and were about to leave. Just as they reached the door, they heard Li Yunyang taunting Lin Fan, Boy, you are such a poor bastard, taking Qingcheng to a snack bar. Are you still worthy of being a man? Lin Fan suddenly stopped, turned around and looked at Ji Qingcheng beside him and asked, Do you like seafood? Ji Qingcheng was stunned and looked at Lin Fan in surprise, wondering what Lin Fan was going to do. Boy, Qingcheng loves seafood the most. See that? Those are top quality Australian lobsters. Two of them cost a total of 100,000 yuan, which is enough for you to earn a year's salary, right? Now if you regret it, let's keep the conditions just now. You can leave Qingcheng for 1 million yuan and I will give you a check now. Li Yunyang said proudly. So you like eating seafood? Lin Fan didn't even look at Li Yunyang, but spoke gently to Ji Qingcheng beside him. Then let's eat here. After saying that, Lin Fan took Ji Qingcheng to the dining table and sat down. Li Yunyang stood in front of the table and said to the waiter, "Waiter, I have to kindly remind you that if this poor guy has no money after eating, not only will you not get your bonus, you may even lose your job." The waiter not far away looked at Li Yunyang and then at Lin Fan, and quickly came to Lin Fan and said, "Sir, miss, since this meal is a specially customized top-level courtship package, the price is too expensive, please pay in advance." Ji Qingcheng looked at the waiter with cold eyes and said, "Don't worry, we can afford this amount of money." After saying that, she was about to take out her bank card from her bag to pay the bill, but was stopped by Lin Fan. Ji Qingcheng looked at Lin Fan in a daze. What was he going to do? Did Lin Fan have to pay? She had investigated Lin Fan. He was always a good student in school and lived a very simple life. How could he possibly come up with so much money? If you can't afford it, get out of here. This is not a place for you to enjoy yourself, Li Yunyang sneered. Swipe the card. Lin Fan took out his bank card and handed it to the waiter, saying, "By the way, did you also decorate this hotel?" The waiter nodded, not knowing what Lin Fan was going to do. "Take those roses out and give them to passers-by. The flowers are beautiful, but it would be a bit weird if they appeared at the same time as the beast next to them. It's better to give them to others before they get infected." Lin Fan glanced at Li Yunyang and said, "Puff." Ji Qingcheng couldn't help but chuckle. She really didn't expect that Lin Fan's swearing skills were at such a high level. Li Yunyang was so angry that his veins popped out. He said to the waiter, "Go check if there is any money on his card. If there is no money, I will be happy to help you call the police." The waiter quickly took the bank card and walked to the service desk. After a moment, the waiter came back and said to Lin Fan respectfully, "Dear sir, this is your card. This is also our VIP card. You are welcome to dine in any time in the future. You can enjoy a 20% discount on all meals." What? VIP card? Li Yunyang knew that the application condition for the VIP card of this hotel was that the cash flow on the bank card must be over 10 million. Otherwise, he would not be able to get the VIP card at all. Could it be that this guy really had so much money on his card? He would never believe it. His family is considered a large business family in Shancheng City, but the maximum amount on his card is more than 3 million or 10 million, which he cannot take out. "Why are you still standing here? Want to serve us?" "Sorry, I can't eat the smell of beast," Lin Fan said with a smile as he looked at the stunned Li Yunyang. "I'm telling you, if you offend me, you will regret it." Li Yunyang pointed at Lin Fan and threatened coldly. Crack. "R. My hand is broken. Roll." Lin Fan was angry. After being pointed at again and again, the anger in Lin Fan's heart finally erupted. "Just you wait." Under Lin Fan's cold gaze, Li Yunyang fled quickly. The whole fell silent. Ji Qingcheng stared at Lin Fan for a long time and found that she couldn't get enough of looking at Lin Fan. It's not right for a woman to pay for a meal with a man. Besides, you are still my dean, so I should pay. After Lin Fan finished speaking, he stood up, picked up the bouquet of Li Yunyang's roses on the chair, and said to Ji Qingcheng, "I wish you a pleasant meal." Ji Qingcheng was slightly stunned, then she reached out to take the rose, put it to her nose and smelled it, and a faint smile appeared on her face, but it soon turned cold again. "This is the first time I've accepted flowers from a boy. I won't do it again." Lin Fan nodded seriously and said, "Well, I can't bear to buy so many flowers that are so expensive. I don't know when I can meet such a rich fool next time." Puff. Ji Qingcheng, who had been pretending to be angry, could no longer hold back and chuckled. "The flowers are in full bloom, so gorgeous and charming." He looked at Lin Fan with resentment and said, "How can you talk like that? I never realized you could be so mean." Although the tone was accusatory, it sounded like a couple flirting. Ji Qingcheng also sensed the tone of voice, and her face turned red, making her pretty face even more beautiful. Lin Fan was dazed for a moment, and couldn't help but say, "You should smile more, you are so beautiful when you smile." Snort. Do you think I'm here to make you laugh? Let me tell you, you are not allowed to tell anyone about what happened today, otherwise, humph. Ji Qingcheng threatened with narrowed eyes. I don't dare. Chapter 24 Distinguished Experts of Huaxia Institute of Traditional Chinese Medicine. The two of them enjoyed the meal very much. Finally, Ji Qingcheng drove Lin Fan back to school before leaving. Ji Qingcheng never asked Lin Fan why he was so rich. She was a smart woman. She knew what a man wanted to tell you, he would tell you even if you didn't ask. But it would be bad to ask about things he didn't want to tell. Besides, Ji Qingcheng has no shortage of money and has no idea about it. Lin Fan returned to the dormitory and quickly started practicing. He was now eager for strength, and he felt a sense of crisis. This city was not as safe as it seemed. If you don't want to be bullied and want to protect your woman, you must have strong strength. A night of practice passed quickly. Lin Fan opened his eyes and nodded with satisfaction. Although his cultivation was still in the middle stage of qi refining, the true qi in his dantian was much richer than before. Now the spiritual energy between heaven and earth is too thin. Lin Fan originally planned to use jade to practice, but when he thought that a piece of jade would cost more than 10 million, Lin Fan gave up the idea. If he wants to cultivate to the later stage of qi training, tens of billions may not be enough. This is simply too expensive. Where can he get so much money? I'd better think of another way. When I have time, I'll study the information in my mind carefully. I believe I can find a way. After washing up, Lin Fan came to Shancheng City Hospital. As soon as he arrived at the door of the clinic, he saw a lot of people gathered around the clinic and pointing and talking. Lin Fan was stunned. So many patients came so early in the morning. I stepped through the crowd and entered the clinic, only to see two middle-aged men lecturing a man in a white coat. What's wrong with your hospital? A person without a medical qualification certificate is allowed to see patients. Fire Lin Fan immediately and make him write a self-criticism with a sincere attitude. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude, a middle-aged man said sternly. Lin Fan recognized the man in the white coat. He was Jiang Fan, the head of the medical department of Shancheng City Hospital. Leader, calm down, let's go and have some tea. Section Chief Jiang Fan said with a smile. Do you need some water? The middle-aged man asked without giving any face. At this time, Lin Fan happened to walk in and said to Section Chief Jiang, Section Chief Jiang, what's going on? Are you Lin Fan? The middle-aged man glanced at Lin Fan and said coldly with narrowed eyes. I'm Lin Fan. Humph, practicing medicine without a license, do you know how many people this will endanger? Now, you have been fired from the hospital, leave immediately, the middle-aged man ordered. Lin Fan frowned and asked, who are you? What? Hearing that Lin Fan dared to talk back, the middle-aged man laughed angrily. Now he had a handle to deal with this kid. He then took out his phone and dialed, Public Security Bureau? We have caught someone practicing medicine illegally, and we request that they be taken away immediately. After Section Chief Jiang finished listening to the phone call, his face turned pale with fright. Chief Jiang, there's no need for this, right? If this matter is brought to the police station, then it will become a big deal. It will be impossible for Lin Fan to obtain a medical qualification certificate in this lifetime. What's more, if that really happened, it would have a serious impact on the hospital's reputation. I think it's necessary. After he finished speaking, Section Chief Jiang looked at Lin Fan with a smile and said, practicing medicine illegally, I will give the patient justice today. Lin Fan sneered in his heart, it seemed that someone was going to make trouble for him. The police arrived very quickly, and in less than 3 minutes 2 officers were already in the clinic. Lin Fan felt that Section Chief Jiang must have planned this and was just waiting outside for an opportunity to deal with him. What a good plan he had. Chief Jiang, who is practicing medicine illegally, a fat policeman in the lead asked Chief Jiang with a smile. That's him, catch him. Section Chief Jiang pointed at Lin Fan. Crash. The fat policeman gave the people around him a look and was about to speak. Who dares to take my people away? Da. The sharp sound of high heels came quickly from far away, and the crowd of onlookers immediately dispersed, allowing the woman to enter the clinic smoothly. Director Jiu, you've come at the right time. Your hospital actually illegally hired a doctor without a medical qualification certificate. This is a serious violation of the law. Now we are arresting Lin Fan in accordance with the law. I hope you will cooperate with our work. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude, said Section Chief Zhang with a stern look on his face. Jiyu Qingcheng narrowed her eyes and looked at Section Chief Zhang and asked, who said Lin Fan doesn't have a medical qualification certificate? At this moment, Lin Fan was stunned, Jiang Fan was stunned, and even the two policemen who came in were stunned. What's going on? Lin Fan has a medical qualification certificate? If so, things will be troublesome. Section Chief Zhang sneered and said, all doctors in the city are registered with the Health Bureau. Do you want to deceive me? But he saw Jiyu Qingcheng sneer and said, cheat you? Not interested. You? Don't think that just because you are the dean, I can't do anything to you, Section Chief Zhang threatened. Li Yunyang asked you to come. Let me tell you, you'd better not get involved in this mess, otherwise the consequences will be serious. Jiyu Qingcheng said to Section Chief Zhang in a cold tone. The Queen's aura was fully exuded at this moment, and her aura was indeed powerful. Section Chief Zhang's eyes were a little evasive. After hesitating for a moment, he gritted his teeth and insisted, no matter what, not having a qualification certificate is illegal. I have the right to report it. He said to the fat policeman, take Lin Fan away. If anyone tries to stop him, it will be considered assaulting a police officer, and the consequences will be very serious. Stop. Stop it. Suddenly, a man ran in at great speed, gasping for breath. Guo, Director Guo, why are you here? Section Chief Zhang said tremblingly when he saw the person coming. An ominous premonition arose in my heart. Could it be that this Lin Fan has a very important background? But I did some research yesterday and found out that he is just an ordinary senior student. If I hadn't come, wouldn't you have rebelled? I didn't give you the power so that you could harm others. Go back immediately and reflect seriously. You can resume your position when you realize your mistakes. Director Guo shouted angrily, pointing at his two subordinates. Director Guo, Director, he ordered us here. After our investigation, it was found that Lin Fan really does not have a medical qualification certificate. Section Chief Zhang thought of the person behind the scenes and had to grit his teeth and insist. Although Director He's position is not as high as Director Guo's, he is the second in command after all. No medical qualification certificate? Look at what this is. After saying that, Director Guo took out a certificate with a red seal from his briefcase. Specially appointed expert of Huaxia Institute of Traditional Chinese Medicine, stamped with the certificate. Section Chief Zhang was dumbfounded when he saw the words on the certificate. The China Academy of Traditional Chinese Medicine is the most famous Chinese medicine academy in China. The certificate it issues is much higher than the professional qualification certificate, and most importantly, it is protected and recognized by Chinese law. How is this possible? Section Chief Zhang almost fainted. Chapter 25, Aunt's Unexpected Visit. After seeing the certificate, Lin Fan understood who helped him. It seems that I owe Mr. Qin another favor. Director Guo, this is a fake certificate, right? Before coming here today, Lin Fan was a senior student without any medical qualifications. How could he suddenly have such an awesome certificate? Besides, why would such a certificate be given to a student? Even for an experienced Chinese medicine practitioner who has been practicing medicine for decades, it is unlikely to get such a certificate. Because this represents the recognition of the highest academic degree in Chinese traditional medicine. Get out. Director Guo shouted coldly, go out and check on your phone to see if it's a fake ID. Get out. Good. Section Chief Zhang and his men left dejectedly. When the fat policeman saw Section Chief Zhang leaving, he wanted to slip away too, but was stopped by Lin Fan. Aren't you detaining me? With just one sentence, the fat policeman was so scared that he almost fell to the ground. The thing he feared finally happened. The fat policeman quickly said with a smile on his face, Dr. Lin Fan, it was a misunderstanding. It was just a misunderstanding. Now the misunderstanding has been resolved. Jiyu Qingcheng sneered, misunderstanding? Bullying my employees is a misunderstanding? You think too simply. Don't think that Li Yunyang's uncle is the deputy director of the Municipal Health Bureau, so he can help you get away with it. After finishing speaking, Jiyu Qingcheng looked at Director Guo. The meaning was very clear, you must give a fair opinion on how to deal with today's matter. Director Guo wiped his sweat and looked at the fat policeman and said, you go back first. You will know when you return to the police station that this matter is really not over. Also, let me tell you something. Just now, Director, he has been taken away by the Discipline Inspection Commission for double supervision. Who exactly is this Lin Fan? It even alarmed the municipal party secretary, who called him personally. After hearing this, the fat policeman felt dizzy and knew that he was doomed. He staggered out of the clinic. If it weren't for the support of the policeman next to him, he wouldn't have been able to walk. Bang! Snap! Snap! Applause broke out, and the doctors and patients who were watching the fun applauded enthusiastically. Now they understand clearly that the doctor was framed. Most importantly, this young doctor is a master of traditional Chinese medicine. At such a young age, he can become a distinguished professor at the China Academy of Chinese Medical Sciences. If not a miracle doctor, then what is he? From this moment on, Lin Fan's fame not only spread rapidly in the hospital, but also gradually became well known in Shancheng City. Bang! Jiyu Qingcheng closed the door of the clinic, leaned against the desk, looked at Lin Fan with a smile and said, "Aren't you curious at all?" "I'm a little curious whether the certificate is fake," Lin Fan asked with a smile. "It's incredible to be able to do this in such a short time. After all, the Huaxia Institute of Traditional Chinese Medicine is in Beijing. Even if you masturbate to get the certificate, it can't be that fast, right? If you don't believe me, you can check the official website. It's guaranteed to be true." Jiyu Qingcheng rolled her eyes at Lin Fan and said again, "This time, it's all thanks to Elder Qin's help. Otherwise, even if I wanted to protect you, it would take a lot of effort." Lin Fan nodded. It was a bit too abrupt for Jiyu Qingcheng to hire Lin Fan as an attending physician. However, it would be reasonable if he was the attending physician for the inpatients. However, the attending doctor must have a qualification certificate. If this matter gets out of hand, Jiyu Qingcheng will be implicated. Fortunately, this matter was resolved and it was very satisfactory. "Thank you." Lin Fan expressed his sincere gratitude. "Do you know why I hired you?" "Because Zhuge Liang didn't have a qualification certificate, but he was also famous all over the world, wasn't he?" Hua Tuor and Bian Qiu didn't have qualification certificates either, but they were also famous for thousands of years, weren't they? Some people don't need certificates. What do they have to prove? Because medical skills are the best recognition. Jiyu Qingcheng looked at Lin Fan with admiration. "Thank you for your kindness, Dean." Lin Fan clasped his hands together and said solemnly. Puff. The corners of Jiyu Qingcheng's mouth curled up slightly, but then her forehead furrowed. R. The two legs quickly clamped together, and a heart-stirring blush appeared instantly. "Dean, are you feeling unwell?" Lin Fan quickly stepped forward and asked. "You, don't come over here." Jiyu Qingcheng saw Lin Fan coming and immediately stopped him. However, her willow-shaped eyebrows were twisted together immediately. "Carry me to the bathroom." "What?" Lin Fan's eyes widened, looking at Jiyu Qingcheng in disbelief. "Carry me to the bathroom, now." Jiyu Qingcheng gritted her teeth and ordered again. "Good." Lin Fan came to Jiyu Qingcheng's side, stretched out his hand, and picked Jiyu Qingcheng up. Jiyu Qingcheng hugged Lin Fan's neck with both hands, and her breathing became a little rapid. A strong feminine scent entered Lin Fan's nostrils, but it was mixed with a strong smell of blood. "My aunt came to visit unexpectedly." Lin Fan finally understood why Jiyu Qingcheng squeezed her legs together, and why Dean Queen's face turned red. A smile gradually spread across his face. It was the first time that he hugged such a stunning beauty, and it was to go to the bathroom. Just thinking about it made Lin Fan very excited. "You go out first." After putting Jiyu Qingcheng down, Jiyu Qingcheng ordered coldly. "You are so ungrateful. You became so cold to me as soon as I brought you in." Alas, women's hearts are as unpredictable as the sea. "Okay, I'm going out." Lin Fan walked towards the door, but at the moment of closing the door, he heard Jiyu Qingcheng's voice again, "Go and help me buy a pack of sanitary napkins. Hurry up." Originally, she wanted her secretary to send it, but then she thought that this was Lin Fan's clinic. What would the secretary think if such an embarrassing thing happened in the bathroom of a male doctor's clinic? Anyway, this man knew about my embarrassing thing, and I forgot to go to the bathroom to change my sanitary napkin just now because I was standing up for him, so he must be responsible. "Okay, I'll go right away." Lin Fan closed the bathroom door and left quickly. There is a supermarket in the hospital, but Lin Fan did not dare to go there. He is now a celebrity in the hospital. If he goes there to buy sanitary pads, it will immediately become news in the whole hospital. For a man, buying sanitary pads, no explanation would be perfect. When Lin Fan came to a supermarket not far from the hospital and started looking for it, he soon found the counter selling sanitary napkins. However, when he saw the wide variety of sanitary napkins, Lin Fan was completely dumbfounded. There are so many types, right? And there are different models, not only that, but also for daytime and nighttime use. How do I choose this? How do I know what brand and model the beautiful Dean wants to use? Besides, are there any models in that place? Lin Fan looked around but still didn't know how to buy it, so he walked towards a female shopping guide and said, can you introduce these sanitary napkins to me? I want to buy some. After saying this, Lin Fan's face turned red. Chapter 26 Sophie. Turn around and don't look back. Jiu Qingcheng took the bag and stared at Lin Fan. At this moment, Lin Fan was a little excited and wanted to secretly open his eyes to see what the scenery was like in front of him. Unfortunately, he knew that if he dared to open his eyes, Queen Jiu Qingcheng would fight him to the death. He turned and walked towards the door. When he reached the door, Lin Fan opened his eyes and looked for the door handle. But in a flash he saw the mirror at the door and couldn't help swallowing hard. So big. So white. Bang. The bathroom door closed quickly and Jiu Qingcheng took a deep breath. She started to take out sanitary napkins quickly, and when she saw that both brands had models for daytime and nighttime use, she was stunned and then squinted her eyes. This is definitely a man who has never had a girlfriend, otherwise he would not buy sanitary napkins like this. After handling the situation, Jiu Qingcheng stood up and felt much more relaxed. Kindness. Suddenly, Jiu Qingcheng thought of how Lin Fan opened the door with his eyes closed just now. This guy must have opened his eyes, otherwise, how could he open the door? Thinking of this, Jiu Qingcheng looked up and saw the mirror at the door. Her face instantly turned red with shame, and then turned pale. Lin Fan, you bastard! How dare you peek at me? I'll show you how I'll deal with you. Bang! Jiu Qingcheng opened the bathroom door and walked out quickly. She looked at Lin Fan who was reading and said angrily, "Did you open your eyes just now?" No. I really didn't open my eyes. Lin Fan was startled by Jiu Qingcheng's question and immediately denied it. Things like this should just be kept to yourself, and you must never tell anyone, even if you are beaten to death. Jiu Qingcheng squinted her eyes and stared at Lin Fan for a long time, then took a deep breath and said, "I hope what you said is true. Otherwise, if there is a patient who needs a corneal transplant in a few days, I will use your cornea." After saying that, he walked towards the door. Lin Fan exhaled, but saw Jiu Qingcheng stopped at the door and said, "Li Yunyang didn't succeed this time, you still have to be careful. His family is very close to the Tiger Gang in Shancheng City. I'm afraid he will hire those people to deal with you. If you are in danger, call me first." Bang! He opened the door of the clinic, took a step forward, turned around and asked coldly, "You really didn't open your eyes?" "No, I promise I didn't see it." Lin Fan stood up and patted his chest to assure himself. "Thank you for the sanitary pad. Also, don't talk about this casually. You understand, right?" After saying that, she quickly left in her high heels. Lin Fan breathed a sigh of relief. The danger was finally over. However, seeing such a beautiful scenery, the danger is worth it. Thinking about the white scene just now, my breathing became rapid. Fortunately, the true energy appeared again in time to suppress the restless emotions. Lin Fan stood up, opened the window, lit a cigarette, took a deep breath, narrowed his eyes slightly, and shot out two murderous auras. "It's the Tiger Gang again. Humph, tonight, the Tiger Gang will disappear from Shancheng City. As for Li Yunyang, if he doesn't provoke me, then forget it. But if he dares to provoke me again, don't blame me for being rude. There are also Jiang Luran and Mr. Fei. These two people should be related to the Tiger Gang. If we can get evidence from the Tiger Gang, I believe that with Su Lin Hai's ability, he will definitely make the Jiang family and the Fei family pay the price. No matter what, it would be strange for the Su family to let it go if someone dared to hurt the apple of their eye. Thinking about it, tonight is also the time to give Su Shanher the second treatment, so it's a good opportunity to go and thank Mr. Qin. By the way, the last time I accompanied Sushuer to buy jade, I didn't let the beautiful school beauty buy jade because of the bet with Jiang Gloran. After get off work, let us buy 2 pieces of jade for Sushuer and Sushanher. Chapter 27, Controlling the Needles with Qi. After get off work in the evening, Lin Fan went to Ruixiang Pavilion first and picked out 2 top-quality jade pendants. After the discount, the total cost was 500,000 yuan. After getting the jade pendant, Lin Fan did not go to the Su family immediately, but returned to the dormitory first. He had to refine the jade so that its full effectiveness could be brought into play. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, Lin Fan held a jade pendant in one hand, and the true energy in his dantian quickly gathered in his palm. Go! He casually threw 2 pieces of jade into the air, and the 2 jade pendants were directly frozen in the air. A series of mysterious hand gestures appeared and were injected into the 2 jade pendants respectively. Lin Fan stopped only after both jade pendants made a buzzing sound. He stretched out his hand, and the 2 jade pendants fell into his palms again. Looking at the bright light contained on it, Lin Fan nodded with satisfaction. The jade pendant given to Sushuer was engraved with a phoenix pattern. Lin Fan had just engraved a defensive and offensive formation on it, which could save Sushuer's life in times of danger. The jade pendant given to Sushanher had an image of the god of longevity on it. Lin Fan had engraved a small spirit-gathering formation on it. The jade pendant could slowly absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and then nourish the person who wore it. I believe that with the nourishment of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, Sushanher's health will get better and better, and it will be difficult for him to get sick. After doing all this, Lin Fan placed the 2 jade pendants in the gift box and walked out of the dormitory. I should buy a car. It's no use driving like this every day. Now that I have money, I have to spend it. Money is a bastard. If I don't have it, I can earn it. Lin Fan started thinking about buying a car in the next few days. Har har, little friend Lin Fan, are you doing well in the hospital? As soon as I entered the Su family, I heard Sushanher's hearty laughter. After Lin Fan's first treatment, Sushanher's body recovered quickly and the previous pain disappeared. Su Linhai's family saw all of this, so they were very grateful to Lin Fan. Well, because Lin Fan came for treatment, Su Linhai turned down social engagements and waited for Lin Fan's arrival at home with his father. Everything is fine. I'm sorry to have worried the old man. Lin Fan entered the hall and did not see Sushuer. The old man saw what Lin Fan was thinking and said with a smile, Shuer knows you are coming and is getting dressed up upstairs. Har har, she's a girl after all. Lin Fan smiled, looked at old Qin standing next to Sushanher, bowed and said, thank you for troubling me this time, old Qin. If you need me in the future, I will definitely repay you for your kindness. It's serious, my friend Lin Fan, you deserve to be the distinguished professor. If you don't have the ability, I won't make an exception no matter how much money you give me. Fortunately, I brought the official seal with me when I came out. This is also God's will. Old Qin said with a smile. It turned out that he brought the official seal with him. I was amazed at the bright seal on the certificate. In fact, the Su family also put in a lot of effort this time. Old Master Qin said while looking at Su Linhai with a smile. Others may not know how grateful Lin Fan is, but both Old Qin and Old Su know that Lin Fan's promise is life, and this promise is too tempting. The Su family had put in a lot of effort in this matter, and Old Qin did not take credit for it. Har har, that's right. People who abuse their power like this should be dealt with. Giving them power is not for retaliation, but for benefiting the people. Sushanher said with a smile. Old man, let me feel your pulse first. How could Lin Fan not know what Old Qin meant? He certainly knew that the deputy director's dismissal must have been Su Linhai's work. He would repay the Su family's kindness when necessary. Good. Su Linhai stretched out his hand, Lin Fan pressed on the pulse point, closed his eyes and felt it. Well, he's recovered well and can be treated now. Har har, I also feel a lot better recently. I even eat a lot more than usual. Everything I eat tastes delicious. Master Su joked. Lin Fan took out the 9-dragon divine needle and looked at Old Qin staring at the silver needle in Lin Fan's hand. Is this the 9-dragon divine needle? Old Qin is an expert in traditional Chinese medicine. He has heard of the 9-dragon needle, but he has only heard of it and has never seen it. After all, it is a legendary thing. The last time I saw Lin Fan performing acupuncture in a video, I didn't look closely and thought it was just an ordinary silver needle. It turned out to be the 9-dragon needle. Lin Fan nodded and said, "Yes. Old Qin, does this needle have a history?" Sushanher couldn't help but ask curiously when he saw how excited Old Qin was. Origin? It's a big one. It is said that this is a magic needle made from dragon tendons obtained by Huangdi from the Chinese dragon. It contains dragon energy, and there is a legend that when the magic needle appears, ghosts and gods will avoid it. Old Qin looked at Lin Fan excitedly and said, "Can I see it?" "Of course, here you go." Lin Fan pulled out a 9-dragon divine needle and handed it to Qin Laodao. "Take a look at it casually. In fact, I found this by chance in the antique street a few days ago." As he spoke, Lin Fan narrated the story of how he obtained the 9-dragon divine needle. Sushanher and Su Lin Hai both widened their eyes, secretly sighing that Lin Fan's luck was too incredible. Both of them knew Mr. Chen, who was a leading figure in the antique world of Shancheng City. HMPH. You want to buy the 9-dragon divine needle with just $100,000. That's simply an insult to this divine needle. Old Qin said angrily. Is this one more valuable? Su Lin Hai didn't understand. These silver needles were neither made of gold nor diamonds, so how could they be so valuable? Of course, Su Lin Hai didn't believe in the legend told by Old Qin. Legends are just legends after all. Priceless. Legends are not necessarily false, but it is said that only the Yellow Emperor could control the 9-dragon needle. After later generations obtained it, no one could control it anymore. It is said that this silver needle is spiritual and will choose its master. I didn't expect that little friend Lin Fan could control it. It is really a blessing for China. After Old Qin finished speaking, he respectfully returned the 9-dragon needle to Lin Fan. Although he was very envious of the 9-dragon divine needle, he knew that if the 9-dragon divine needle was in his hands, it would just be an object for viewing. Only when it was in the hands of someone who actually used it could it exert its miraculous effects. The reason why I can control this silver needle is that I can control the needle with my qi. Lin Fan said with a faint smile. Old Qin widened his eyes and said, "Use qi to control the needle." Then he suddenly realized, so the legend is true. The reason why ancient medical masters could treat various difficult and complicated diseases is because they could use qi to control needles and comb the meridians. So that's it. Well, can we start the treatment? After listening to what you just said, I also want to see it. Sushanher said with anticipation.